Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Village of Ruidoso regular council meeting. It's 1 o'clock. If you'll stand with me and join in a moment of silence, and then we'll have the pledge and the salute. Pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico, the Zia symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures.
All right. Thank you, everyone. We'll start off with the roll call, please, ma'am.
Mayor Crawford,
Here.
Councilor Eby,
Here.
Councilor Letterman, here. Councilor Salas,
Here.
Councilor Hooker,
Here.
Councilor Jackson,
Here.
Councilor Corey.
Here. All right. Thank you, everyone. Welcome. We'll get rolling. Can I get a motion for the approval of today's agenda, please?
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the agenda as presented and allow the chair to move items for discussion at will.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please, Jenny.
Councilor Jackson,
Aye.
Councilor Hooker,
Aye.
Councilor Eby,
Aye.
Councilor Letterman. Aye. Councilor Salas,
Aye.
Councilor Corey.
Aye. Thank you very much. We have a few consent regular items that are agenda items. There are 14 of them, and I'll start with approval of governing body minutes from the May 14th, 2024 regular meeting, May 21st, 2024 special meeting, May 30th, 2024 workshop meeting, June 4th, 2024 workshop meeting. Item number 2, approval of task order RFP number 2021-007P-11, Amendment 2, Riverwell, H1979 S3 Rehabilitation, and H1979 S13 Clean Out and Pumping Test with John Shoemaker and Associates, Inc. for an extension of time from June 2024 to September 2024. Item number 3 is approval of task order RFP 2023-013P-02 with Henninghausen, Olson and McCray LLP for professional services, legal services as water rights attorney for the Village of Ruidoso in the amount of $80,000, including New Mexico GRT. Item number 4, approval of task order RFP number 2022-004P-SMA-02 Amendment 2, Master Planning and Rate Analysis with Souder Miller and Associates for an extension of time from June 2024 to December 2024. Item number 5, approval of joint funding agreement number 24 RG JFA 23 with the United States Department of the Interior, United States Geological Survey, USGS, for the operation of USGS streamflow and precipitation gauges with the village cost share of $56,364.00. Item number 6, approval of task order RFP number 2022-006P-MCA-01, Amendment 3, Eagle Creek Wellfield, Phase 3, with Mosen Corbin and Associates, Inc., for an extension of time from June 2024 to October 2024. Item number 7 is approval of task order RFP number 2024-004P-01 with Cobb, Finley and Associates, Inc., to create the Rio Ruidoso watershed-based plan in the amount of $197,438.94, including New Mexico GRT. Item number 8 is approval of award of ITB number 2024-01B for Upper Canyon Diversion Development to Spartan Construction in the amount of $2,024,887.16, including New Mexico GRT. Item number 9, approval of memorandum of understanding between the Village of Ruidoso and the New Mexico Department of Finance and Administration for the New Mexico E911 program grant to fund the Public Safety Answering Points, PSAPs, at the Village of Ruidoso and Mescalero Apache Reservation for the period of time between July 1, 2024 and June 30th, 2025. Item number 10, approval of biennial memorandum of understanding between New Mexico Main Street Program, Village of Ruidoso, and Ruidoso Midtown Association to dedicate collaborative resources, adopt local economic growth and revitalization tools, and establish economic development fund for operations and program implementation to restore economic vitality within the Main Street Economic Redevelopment District from July 1, 2024 to June 30th, 2026. Item number 11, approval of memorandum of agreement between the Village of Ruidoso and Outdoor New Mexico, a 501c3 organization, to sponsor the 2026 New Mexico Outdoor Economics Conference in the amount of $70,000, no cents. Item number 12, approval of third renewal agreement with Zach Cook. How'd this get in here?
It did slip by.
And this close. Zach Cook LLC for professional services as general counsel for the Village of Ruidoso. And item number 13, approval of award of ITB 2024-009B for green waste disposal to Universal Waste Systems, Inc. in the amount of $660,000, no cents, including New Mexico GRT. Item number 14, approval of request to schedule public hearing on July the 9th, 2024 for ordinance 2024-04, amending the Village of Ruidoso Code of Ordinance, Chapter 86, Utilities, specifically Sections 86-1 through 86-12, and Sections 86-31 through 86-33, Section 86-63, and providing for Appendix U, water rates, structure, and Appendix A, fines, fees, and penalties. Chapter 70, solid waste, specifically Sections 70-15 through 70-17, and providing for Appendix A, fines, fees, and penalties. And Chapter 54, land use, specifically Section 54-404, and providing for Appendix A, fines, fees, and penalties.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the consent items as read.
Second.
Any discussion? Thank you for everybody putting all the work into those, amending all the code of ordinances. Roll call, please, ma'am.
Counselor Hooker,
Aye.
Counselor Letterman,
Aye.
Counselor Eby,
Aye.
Counselor Salas,
Aye.
Counselor Jackson,
Aye.
Counselor Corey.
Aye.
Can I have the public input? Do we have somebody, anyone sign up? Nada? It's going way too smooth, folks. Okay, we'll go into mayoral reports and presentation. This is a good part. We get to do presentation of new employees and promotions and new hires. We have Ian Belen in dispatch, 911 telecommunication officer, Sergeant 520. Is Ian here? He's actually working. Good. Awesome. Matthew Amazakita.
That's him.
Is that you right here? Oh, awesome.
All right, Matt.
PD, non-certified patrol officer, they'd hire 520. So would you give him the microphone? We just wanted to say hi, recognize you, and this is your first opportunity to get to meet the council, and tell us a little bit about it yourself. Where'd you come from?
Yes, sir. I came from El Paso, Texas.
From El Paso. So would you pronounce your last name?
Last name is pronounced Amezquita.
Amezquita.
Yes, sir.
Okay, awesome. So you came in from El Paso.
Yes, sir.
Okay, awesome. How long have you been here?
Been here for about a month now.
About a month now.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Well, hopefully you enjoy it. Do you have family here, friends here?
It's just me by myself here.
Oh, okay, awesome. So have you been to Ruidoso before?
I've been to Ruidoso, but the very last time before the date of hire was almost a decade ago.
A decade ago. Well, we're certainly glad to have you. Hopefully you have a long, prosperous time here and enjoy it. So thank you very much.
I'm grateful for the opportunity.
Chris with the fire department. please come on down. We're not trying to embarrass you, but we want you to please educate me because I'm not good at this. How do you pronounce your last name?
Melaniotis.
Melaniotis.
It's Greek.
Yeah, I got that part. Melaniotis. Well, welcome to Ruidoso. We're glad to have you back. Where did you come from?
Oh, I was born in El Paso, Texas, but my family moved here when I was 11.
Uh-huh.
We were here. I graduated high school here in 2007.
Oh,
Moved
really?
away in 2015, and we moved back in September 2021.
Awesome. Well, we're certainly glad to have you here. Hopefully you enjoy it while you're here. So
I love
far,
this
so
place.
good?
This is home.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you very much. Amosquita?
No.
And, no. And
He's still working on the other one.
Melana.
Yes.
Yeah.
Melaniotis.
And then we got another real simple one. And a promotion to detective. Congratulations, Ryan Poston Reader.
Yeah.
Attaboy. Effective June the 2nd. How long have you been with us, officer? I mean, detective.
I've been here, it'll be 3 years in August.
So you're going to get to start wearing the slick uniforms, and yeah, you look like the other one there before long. That's good. So we're glad that you've been here this long, and we're glad that you came, and hopefully you've enjoyed it, and we're looking forward to it. You bet. Thank you very much. And we have some of our other finest I see in the area. We got some folks from the sheriff department. Were you just coming over to Rudy Mon? Awesome. That's good to see that. We see our other detectives here. That's great. So we appreciate everything that you guys do a lot.
Thank you.
So next thing, we'll move on to the U.S. Forestry update. So I don't know if we have enough seats, but we'll certainly take whoever wants to come up. Jennifer? Thank you, guys,
Yeah, thank you.
every bit.
Let's go back.
And thank you for the additional patrols. I noticed that our state police have been giving out some tickets. I don't know what's going on. Actually, I had people stopped the last week. Have you noticed?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, so, thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Matt. Good afternoon, Jennifer.
Good afternoon, Mayor, council members. So this is an update on the Blue 2 fire. So it's currently 7,532 acres. It's 88% contained, and the total personnel on the fire is currently 135. Not sure what other information you would like about the Blue 2 fire. I have lots going on. I know our BEAR team, which is Burn Emergency Area Response Team, have been out doing some assessments. Right now, only 240 acres were in the Eagle Creek area, and it is unburned and low severity burn in the area.
And I saw where there was some reseeding going on already from the Bear team.
There is some reseeding. I don't think it's in BEAR. I think that's in the fire suppression repair.
Okay. Oh, did you print that stuff off of on that issue? Is it? Yeah, would you go get it? I get so much information from you guys, and I had some questions off of the other, and I just wanted to ask you a few of them.
Mayor, question.
Yes, sir.
Jennifer, first of all, how many what was the maximum number of firefighters?
I don't have the exact number, but I know it was just around 800.
Okay, well, we're sincerely grateful for everything they've done. Did we lose any structures in the fire?
No structures are lost, no lives.
Fantastic. And then finally, do you know the prognosis for Bonita Lake?
I can't address the lake because I know that's with the
Different
village of city of Alamogordo. I know that they have been doing some assessments. I know the BEAR team will be sharing their findings with the city of Alamogordo and any other entity that asks.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else have any questions?
I get the question, when are you gonna open up the wilderness?
That is going to be dependent on the final BEAR assessment. I know that we are looking potentially, as the fire and we have a season-ending event, hopefully we'll be able to open it. But yeah, I don't have an exact time frame for you.
It's a lot of requests for Turkey, Argentina, and all that side. So
Absolutely.
Just to let you know.
Okay.
I have a couple questions there. Hi, Jennifer. Thanks for all the work you've been doing. But I think it was in the fourth update that the fire teams were given that the one gentleman stated that we got approval now to go into the wilderness area, that they could take some equipment in there. So my question is, and I think it's from a lot of the residents, is how does the wilderness area, as far as requesting to go in, to take equipment in, get access, and how long does that process take?
Depends upon the equipment that's being used, and kind of where the delegation is. If it's just chainsaws, that is something that I can do, and that was immediately approved as the IC requests it. The more heavier equipment, that actually has to go through the regional office, and that process took about 4 days for that process to roll through, because they wanted to make sure that we had considered all other minimal impact options before we actually allowed that.
Okay, and the second question, what I saw on the news last night about them doing the ground study as far as how much of the ground and how deep it had been burned. And they were saying that it hadn't been burned really deep at all. It was just mostly surface. So question was, are they going to be doing any type of, let's just say, plant rehabilitation as far as seeding, waffling, such like that?
I actually have not been, since I've had a couple of days off, have not been intimately involved. I do know that they will have a full assessment, and then after they give me the full assessment, I'm hoping by the end of this week, some of those may be options, they may not. So I don't have an answer for you on that just yet.
So what does it mean by full assessment?
So
These are terms that confuse all of us because the reports I've been getting said the final incident area size estimated to be 12,000 acres. And then it was total cost right to date over 18 million and a final incident of 20 million. So this is stuff I get from you guys?
Right, so the 20 million is as we're planning what we call a wildfire decision model. That's kind of where we list the costs, and it's basically a guesstimation on where the fire started, where it's going, and to the end of potentially the cost.
Okay. Okay, because your report said 7,500 acres. So where I'm getting is, because we're getting tons of pressure.
Now
Okay.
I'm under, so the planning area is the total planning area that potentially the fire could affect, but currently the fire has only affected a smaller portion. So that's where the 12,000 is the planning area of potential of where it could go.
Okay. But, you know, we get questions all the time about how these things, who's in charge, all of those kind of things. Because if it had started back that way, would the decisions have been different?
Back that way, you mean closer to the village of Ruidoso?
Yes, like where the Little Bear started last time?
Well, actually, the entire area that's in the current Blue 2 fire is within the Little Bear burn
Yeah, but
scar.
it was that way. I'm talking about if it had started
If it had
because.
Farther and the wind potentially, we probably would have done the same thing, engaged where we could to be successful, to keep firefighter safety in mind as well. So we probably would have changed some tactics if it would have been a little farther south. So I would say we'd still try and engage it where we could be successful to contain it.
Okay. And so I guess we finally, and we're not going to get an action, you know, and that's what we do, after action reports on everything that happens on fires, whether it's a police report, even on our water breaks. We have after action reports on what do we need to do better, and we don't ever get that. And I've asked specifically and was told that's not going to happen. Why doesn't that happen?
The Fire Forest Service does do after-action reports. If you would like an after-action report on some of kind of what we determined, I will be more than happy to come back and address the council and give you an after-action report. But again, every fire is different.
Sure,
every
and
fire is-
we understand that, but there's still fire, and we've learned, and that's what we do, and we're hoping that we learn. But see, what's happening is with all the fires and then the way this one got away, we're getting people that are getting notices of non-renewal on insurance. insurances are doubling and so on and so forth because of the area that we're in, and we have a forested area. But now we're talking about rolling blackouts with P&M, the electrical company, for fire, and all of these things all ball together, and then when it comes down to, they're asking us, what are our actionable reports? Just like our fireman in here right now, Ross sitting over there, in the village, we have those so that we can talk to our insurers. And so if something starts back there, is it going to be a wait and watch, even though we have winds that are predicted? This is some of the issues that we asked the other day. We're just asking for, on an after-action report, that they talk about these things, that we did it because, and we know this hopefully to burn up some of the fuels, and hopefully that after-action tells us, yeah, it did accomplish a lot of that. And so that would be beneficial. And so that we can show the beneficial use of the tactics that we're taking, because there's a huge push. Right now, everything's geared for suppression. And we know the pay scales and how all this works, and that's the machine that moves this thing. So it's trying to be changed to more mitigation so that we can maybe figure out how can we thin it. But this is the 30 by 30 stuff, if everybody doesn't know, where you go into the wilderness and you block it off. And unfortunately, you're the one sitting here. But when we talk to the people at the Forestry Service at the federal levels and send emails, I get nothing back.
Okay.
And it's the same information when we have questions about Ski Apache. It's so hard to get information back, and for a FOIA, it took over a year. We get an IPRA, and how long do we have to have an IPRA? 10 days, and if not, we got a lawsuit. So this is where we're going, and it's nothing personal, but the people in the community ask us these questions. The people in the county ask these questions. The people that were over in Loma Grande and Benito, other fire folks that I talked to that were spotters that could see, said that they couldn't get any input, and that there was evacuations that weren't necessary, all those. So I hope that in your after action report, that those are some of the issues that they talk to and address them. And
So we do address that. So on this fire, we actually had some modeling based on where the fire was predicted to go, based on the weather, based on the winds, and every fire that is in an area that can't be actively suppressed because of the conditions and where this fire started, the conditions were so extreme, and it was to protect firefighters' safety, and we didn't have a lot of values at risk within the wilderness. We were trying to engage and figure out where the fire was going to go that we could actively engage and be successful and keep it in a smaller footprint than the area planned. So this was 100% suppression from the get-go. We were just trying to make sure that we kept safety as well as where can we be successful engaging this. So all fires are evaluated, and unfortunately, there was an extreme wind event. Even though there was predicted winds, it was the lower RH and the extreme wind together kind of took it into an area that was still within the model. It just happened a lot quicker.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions?
No, sir.
Okay. Well, that's all I've got. So I appreciate it, Jennifer. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
We have, yes, sir. You come on down to the front.
here, Eric, so.
Eric Kimbrell, Detailed F&O. We do have an executive summary
Uh-huh.
report, and we're glad to give that to you.
Yeah, we would, because we just get calls all the time, and we're working with our insurance folks.
Oh, yeah.
And then our forestry guys actually go out and try to show them defensible spaces and whatever. And people are asking us, because they're civilians, and they really don't get a chance to talk to you like we do. And so we're trying to get the information so we can share with them. And so that would be great. Any information on how these things do, or how they're, what kind of the steps, 1, 2, 3 are. We come in, we look, we bring in this group, and then, you make a call or somebody makes a call, and then they're assessed. And so that's what people don't understand. It's like, well, why couldn't have we just come in and dropped a bucket of water? And I understand that we had all that dead and down, because I've, been back there, it's rough. And I've flown over, it's rough. And so I get that we want to burn all that stuff up that we could, and hopefully that was accomplished, a lot of it. But it's, when the wind events, you know, that's what I'm saying. Our electrical company's telling us when we start getting these wind events, they predict them out 10 days, 5 days. And then when it gets down to time, they're cutting the juice if it gets to that. It's that, you know, is that the same ideology, the thought processes that we're going to use for this? Or is it going to be, we'll just wait and see? That's what I'm asking. And that's what people ask is, what do we tell them? Because I know with the Little Bear and then everything in over at Mora and the Calf's Canyon and all that stuff that went on in New Mexico people are leaving, the insurance companies are leaving the state in droves. And so it's costing everyone more money. We're just trying to figure out what do we need to do and to allay some of the fears of the insurance companies. So, and maybe we can't, but just to spread out their risk a little more.
Yeah, I totally understand, and I'd be happy to send an executive report to you guys. I'll
Okay.
hand it in person, and glad to share any information.
Okay, and maybe you have to explain it to us because I know there's terminology that sometimes gets
Yeah.
sideways.
Yeah, we
And
can do that.
one thing here and one thing there, and so that, you know, that when we're giving it, when we're talking to the community, that we're accurate. Because the last thing I want to do is misinterpret what I'm being told for something I thought I understood. And just if you'll explain to us, walk us through it, and be happy to do it. It won't take that much time when you get it.
Absolutely.
And then we'll come in, you come in and just, here's the ABCs of it so that we can let the council know, our people know. So in the future, we can,
Absolutely.
because I know those meetings are not pleasant, and everybody thinks the mayor can control the price of gas, the price of, you know, everything in this town. And so they call, and I just would like to be able to give them answers on what is going on, because it's like I said that day, y'all are all locals. We don't want anybody to get hurt, but we just want to make sure that the public, and that's the big thing, is I don't want those folks to get scared. And we had some folks, as you well know, that were scared. And so,
Absolutely, and I understand that completely, and I wish it was as easy as putting a bucket of water on this, knowing that in order for the fire to be out in conjunction with the bucket and the water, you have to have firefighters on the ground to actually work with it. In the area, I will tell you, there still has not been anybody in the area where the fire started because it's still too dangerous in the area. So a lot of the assessments are being done by UAS, which are the drones.
drones, sure.
So I also know that if we would have put water on it without boots on the ground, I don't know if you've ever put a glass of water in a fire and it
Yeah,
spreads
just-
out at the bottom, we probably would have had a much bigger fire much quicker.
See, and it's just things like that that we try to explain to people about. And I know we watched the lightning radar, I don't know what you call it.
Lightning strikes.
Yeah, lightning strikes that we'll see, and I know you guys have to monitor those because they may, when a wind event comes up 2 days later, it may kick it up because it's in a route or whatever. So we try to let people know that these are things that happen, and if you live in the forest, this is part of it.
Absolutely.
And that we have to be ready for it, but just mentally, ready, set, go programs, all these things so that people are ready, that's all. Because I just know they were like, just put it out, you know, put it out. Well, you just explained some things that that everybody's been camping understands when you do that. So, okay. Well, that's it, but I appreciate it when you get
Yeah.
that out.
Sure,
We'd love to
no
have
problem.
it. Okay.
And I just want to say thank you to all of the partners, including this village. I really appreciate it. Definitely when we all come together, it makes things a little easier, so I appreciate it.
Sure. Well, and everybody was super, all the firefighters that were over at White Mountain, you know, we had a lot of people walking, wanting to bring cookies and all these different things that were over there. The community's super appreciative of what they did, and everybody left it in a clean state. You know, everybody was very professional on it, and it's really an organization people don't realize, and that's what they wanted to know. What do they need? And basically, we need you to stay away from them. Because they've got it done. They've got everything. Well, I mean, you guys showed up, you had all the equipment, you had all the food, you had, you know, everything, and, you know, just stay out of their way. They're here to do a job. And so we need to do a better job because we have these. And this is home Smokey Bear, for crying out loud. We need to educate the public better on how these things happen. And so we just need to get that information from you, and then we'll start adding it to our newsletter, radio programs, and all of that.
Absolutely, and I would love to be a partner in some of that education, so if you guys are gonna put something on, please invite us.
We will.
I'll be more than happy to show up.
Thank you.
We will. Thank you, guys.
If I
Go
may,
ahead.
Mayor,
Go ahead, Ralph.
and I forgot to mention this last month because it affected our neighborhood, but we're appreciative of your WUI operation that you're doing here in Cedar Creek.
Oh, it's beautiful.
And the RX burn, I mean, the grass is coming up beautifully and everything there, but I was really surprised to see our hot shots, because when I went walking on the trail in the back of my yard, there were hot shots on a Sunday afternoon, cutting up, piling wood all along the trails that are back there, and that's when they say, yeah, we're working this whole area. So I appreciate your work and all the people's work that is keeping at least that south side, because you're right, what if the fire started up at the top of Cedar Creek? You know, and how would that address and stuff? But that's one way that they're helping us in protecting our city borderline, so.
Yeah.
But I appreciate it. That's good work that's being done up there. Thank you.
And that dozer was, I don't know if y'all saw that dozer, that thing climbed straight up the mountain. Cut those fire paths, that went over off 37. Over there behind Jerry's house, it just went straight up the deal. So very impressive, and that's what we just gotta let folks know is that there is a method, and it does take a while to get people here and all of that. And so that's why we want to start putting that message out. We'll get with Eric, I don't see him here, on our emergency management, so he puts out all this stuff so people know what to expect. And then we try to share it with the county, and it would help if maybe y'all worked with us on that to get those guys a little more educated out there.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
All right, now we have, we're going to have the update because I know Mr. Stepp is not here.
I think Mike and Lee can provide some on the Oshkosh.
Yep. Does everybody know what Oshkosh is?
Oshkosh, my gosh, isn't that what them little kids wear?
Yeah, that's some little jumpsuits,
Man, this
coveralls.
Yeah. Yeah. Truck.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. So Mr. Stepp, Vice Chair Stepp was going to present just a discussion on what they were doing. They'll be going up with State Aviation and participating at their booth to really advertise the Village of Ruidoso. What we've done is we've ordered basically 500 grab bags for them to be able to give away. They have about, I think it's about 7 or 8 different items in each one of them. And so what we'll be doing is Lee and some of his team stuffed all those this weekend. We did get 2 new boxes in of items that should have gone in there that got here late. So they'll finalize stuffing those 500 bags. We'll put all of those into a pallet for shipping. The way Oshkosh works is they use a unionized method to bring everything in. So if you don't send it via their method, it gets rejected. And so the costs will be a little bit more significant than usual, but we will be sending it up there hopefully in the next week or so. That item will be on a pallet and sent up, wrapped and weighed and then sent up. And so once that happens, they'll get those items. They'll be working the state aviation booth along with state aviation and giving those giveaway grab bags for showing off the village.
And where is Oshkosh? I don't even know.
Wisconsin.
Wisconsin.
So is that our goal to, so what is our goal?
Well, what we're doing is reaching out, with our fly-in, drive-in events, and then getting folks to start making us a destination place. The steps go to these things, so they're flying up. The state aviation already has a big booth, and it's expensive. They pay for it. They threw the offer out while they were here that if anybody wanted to fly up and sit at the booth with them, they were welcome. And so the steps said, yeah, we want to go. We'll fly our airplane, and we love it. And so we said, well, while we're there, can we give out some swag? And they said, you'll be the only one in New Mexico. So it's just a little marketing part of it that we're getting really into it low end because they're doing it on their own.
And that's exactly right, Mayor. And then to the second point of that, It just happened to be that with the races that are coming into Roswell, we're going to be tapping into a whole nother market that is probably looking to next year to come out. And so with our fly-in, we may see a huge increase just based off of what's being submitted so that people can actually see, well, what are we looking for next year? So there may actually be a huge opportunity to capitalize on marketing that we didn't have before.
Right. And if people don't know, the air races that have previously been in Reno for a lot of years are now going to be in Roswell. And so they expect it to bring in,
It's it's like $130 million worth of investment. I think they said up to 80,000 people. So they're going to be using the village of Ruidoso, they're going to be using Roswell, they're going to be using all the surrounding areas to be able to have people staying within the area.
Mayor, how long's that contract?
I think it's for 5 years or 6 years.
And I think, from what I understand, they basically have it for life because it's just that Reno got too big and they couldn't have it. And so until something happens, it's going to be there. But my understanding is there wasn't a limit
I
on
may
the
be
contract.
thinking of the Xterra contract.
That's a
or the
5 year.
Iron Man contract. Or the,
Yes, sir.
I'm getting too many of
You're
these.
getting your races.
Those are your
Yeah.
5 years, yes, sir.
So the state of Mexico is behind this big time. So they put the money up in the municipal league, self-insurance funds doing a lot of the underwriting. And then we've gone out for reinsurance on it. So we kind of want to tag into it because we'll need to be a bedroom community for some of those folks.
Sure.
So anyway,
Race to Ruidoso.
yep. So I think it's good. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, sir.
Boards and commissions next. And I tell you, all the time I get with the municipal league, I get to talk to other mayors and councilors, and they can't even get people on their planning and zoning boards. They can't get people to sit on their lodger's tax, or much less keep Ruidoso beautiful. And they want to know how we do it, and it's just, we're very fortunate, and I'd like to think it's that we're transparent and everybody loves this community. But we have 15 boards and commissions, and with the only open spots is when somebody leaves, and then we have people that want to come in and fill them. So I know that under boards and commissions, a lady by the name of Melissa, she goes by Lisa Corley, is wanting to be put on the Keep Ruidoso Beautiful board. Do you have anything to say about her?
Mr. Mayor, council, you want me to come up? Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, I should have had you sit on the front row. You're limping around a little bit.
Lisa, she's come to just about every cleanup in the
Hit the button.
in the last 5 or 6 years. She constantly cleans Cedar Creek. I don't know if Rifle knows that. They call me all the time and said, we picked up 6 bags, 8 bags, 12 bags, and she does this probably at least once a month. And I just thought it would be a good fit because I know she comes to our cleanups and she's constantly cleaning the village.
Yeah,
So,
awesome. And then we were going to have an honorary member that's now doing much better, and he's going to be back on, Sam Pirelli.
yes, he's doing a lot better, and both of them are out of town today, or I would ask them to be here, but.
Okay, well, good. So if I can get a motion for the appointment.
I move that we appoint Melissa Corley to Keep Ruidoso Beautiful Committee.
Second.
Roll call, please, ma'am.
Counselor Letterman? Aye. Counselor Salas?
Aye.
Counselor Eby?
Aye.
Counselor Hooker?
Aye.
Counselor Jackson?
Aye.
Counselor Corey?
Thank you, T-Bone. I know
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, thank you, council.
appreciate it. And the next is to the library board, and this is Jeff Frawley. I don't see Jeff in here, but he has a pretty extensive background, and we appreciate his service. And I know Dee is going to appreciate him, so can I get a motion for his appointment?
Mayor, I move the appointment to the library board of Jeff Frawley.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call, please, ma'am.
Counselor Corey?
Aye.
Counselor Jackson?
Aye.
Counselor Hooker?
Aye.
Counselor Salas?
Aye.
Counselor Letterman? Aye. Counselor Eby?
Awesome. Thank you very much. Now we'll get into the manager's report. Ron?
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council. Our first presenter is Mr. Robert Bobby Simpson. He comes in through the door there. He's prepared.
And he should be very prepared. He's got more help than he's had in probably the last 5
Oh,
years.
yes. Yes, he's very excited. He's going to give us an update on the ongoing Clean and Lean project, so.
Yes, I'm very excited. As a matter of fact, my newest hire, Deborah, actually just got released from training today. The mayor swore her in yesterday on the radio there for Monday mornings with the mayor, so I appreciate you doing that. And yeah, she's released from training. She's going to spread her wings and fly and get all those things done we need to get done. They're pulling up a short PowerPoint presentation. Well, I might not have a PowerPoint presentation.
Maybe shorter, Bobby.
Yeah, it's going to be super short. I had some photographs on there. Actually, give me 1 second. I can get it in another place.
Mayor, just a couple of other items while Bobby's preparing there. We do have the annual banquet for the Ruidoso Valley Chamber of Commerce, Friday, June 28th at 6 p.m. in the Mountain Gods. They're going to include the induction of the new board directors and award for Business of the Year, Volunteer of the Year, Beautification Award, and I believe possibly even a village liaison, so I'm not sure about that. I know
Name
that
of a village liaison?
Councilor Salas has been mentioning that for Councilor Corey, so.
He's trying to keep me busy.
Oh, absolutely, so.
I'll make that motion.
So PowerPoint has fallen apart. I've been having some issues with some thumb drives, so I don't have photographs for you. We can't get into the V drive. I apologize about that. The two main ones that I wanted to discuss today was 100 Nogal, which is a property that the council has deemed to be a nuisance. First, I want to give you an update on that. 100 Nogal, and again, I apologize. I had some pictures, but we can't seem to access them. The siding is complete on 100 Nogal, so that part of that project, we identified 4 different sections, 4 different projects that needed to be completed to bring the property into compliance. Siding was one, roofing was one. Those were the main 2. And I shouldn't say the main 2 because the biggest one I was concerned with was the portion of the building that was open. It was not secured. That was corrected by the homeowner. The siding was actually taken on by us, and the siding is now completed. The cost for that siding, and again, PowerPoint presentation, I don't have the number with me exactly, but I can get you some numbers for the next update. It was substantial. It was.
I mean, what are we talking about? Wasn't it like 70 grand or something? 42,000.
So you're talking a little over 40,000 just for the siding. We're moving into the bidding process for the roof. We had communications with the homeowner who indicated he was going to go ahead and do the roof, but obviously to date, no progress has really been made. Substantial progress has been made on the roof. So we're going to be going out to bid if he doesn't make some kind of something happen, substantial progress with the roof. We're just going to go ahead and get that done. And then the one other item that will need to be addressed is the chimney on the outside of the house needed to be repaired. That's minor in comparison to these other things. So the overall amount that is going to be owed, that'll be processed, and the owner will have a time frame to pay that back to the village. We're trying to kind of set a precedence right now on how long we're willing to give people. So we're playing with that. I think right now, are we looking at 2 years?
They have the remainder of the time until
Okay. So it's up to 5 years.
So the time expires that we can.
Correct.
Or a lien.
Foreclose on the lien then at that time.
So once a lien is placed against the property, we have to act as a municipality within that 5 years. The 4 years is basically your mark where you need to do something or you're not going to do anything. So he'll have that time frame to pay the village back. Otherwise, then we will go into the foreclosure process, which I'm hoping doesn't happen. I'm hoping that obviously we just want to bring it into compliance. We get our money back so we can work on another project. That'd be the best way to do it. Any questions on that one?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Go ahead. And it may be for Michael, because I know in the beginning you were talking to him. Is there still communication, or did it fall off? Just kind of getting an idea, this is our first real big test of this thing, and you've had motion, like when we did the one on Paradise, that gal came in and cleaned it up, and it looks good, because there was a lot of communication. I just didn't know if that's what's.
No, yes, sir, Mayor and Council. We have still had some communication. The last couple of weeks of communication has been on me. I haven't responded. Some other items have come up. We did reach back out again. He did say yes. You'll notice there's white paper that's been on the roof. We've put the tar paper up first. So he said, we're moving, but I haven't gotten everything in line. And we said, look, we're gonna go out to bid. There does need to be some type of substantial, showing of fixing the issues. And so he said, you'll probably hear back from me in the next week or so. I'll let you know when that's gonna happen. And I said, well, until then, we are gonna go out to bid. So, we are doing those kinds of things. There's been some small work that was done on the chimney, not a significant amount. I think the flue's still exposed. So there's some items that are still there, and he said, I'm having to work on different things because there's some interior issues that have to be addressed, but, those are still items that still have to be addressed prior to those figures. But yes, sir, there is communication. We're just trying to push to make sure, we get those things done in a responsible amount of time.
And you said a timing matter, but we've been working with this guy for how many years?
Since 2011.
It's 2012, right?
Yeah, it was either 2011 or 2012, so over 10 years.
Yeah, so once we start the action, that's the timing you're talking about. So this is our new program.
Mayor, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So is anyone living in the house? Are they able to go ahead and continue living in the house?
So there are individuals that are living in the house. And please correct me if I'm wrong, Bobby. There's a portion of the house that's actually completely livable. The addition to the house is what, doesn't necessarily have, areas to live in, but there's a whole house that is livable. They do have active water, and they came in, paid, the difference in what was owed. The water was turned back on. It's my understanding that there are contractors that are currently there. There's hand painting of the siding that's actually going on right now as we speak, by some of those contractors. You see some more interior work that's happening than exterior work at the moment. But there's always cars there round the clock, so.
And just for clarification on that, so the initial structure did have occupancy on the structure. So just because the addition happened doesn't mean that your occupancy gets removed. It would just be for that extra portion of that structure. So it is legal for them to be there, and there are people living in the livable portions of the house.
Okay, any other questions? What was the other one?
So, on to the next one is 215 Hart Avenue. This was the most recent, nuisance property that was brought before council. We were all set up, we had bids, everything was good to go, and one of the key things that I learned in my research on putting this, clean and lean setup together is to avoid any legal implications. You always check to make sure that the ownership hasn't changed before you put boots on the ground, and that is exactly what happened with 215 Hart. The day before we went to go actually and say, yes, go ahead and move on this project for forestry and the other standards, we checked ownership and it had changed within that last just few days. The new owner is actually a relative. I think it was his, I don't want to mistakenly say it was a relative of the person who took over the property. He actually lives in Malaysia. Which creates somewhat of a difficult thing, but he's been super communicative. So he's actually gone above and beyond. I provided him the quotes that were given to us for the forestry standards. He immediately contacted that same person and said, yes, if that's what needs to be done, and the property, it isn't compliant yet because inspections haven't been made unless, I don't think we have any forestry personnel in here, unless they've already done that. But I actually checked the property today, and again, forgive me, I don't have the pictures available, but the property is almost cleared. Like, it looks amazing. So he's already taken action on the property for forestry standards. He intends to be here in August to assess the structure himself, secure the structure, and make any of the structural issues that we had with the property, such as the decks and railings and things like that, take corrective action on that. So that worked out for the best. We didn't actually have to spend any of our money from the budget to move into that. He's taken the initiative and moved forward with that. I'll go ahead and once we get that completely done, just because it was approved by council, but once the property ownership changed, we would have had to bring it back to council since it's a whole new owner. But I'll go ahead and give updates as we go along here in the next few months. I imagine shouldn't be but more than 2 months before the property's completely compliant. Just as some honorable mentions, we do have some structures in town that were involved in some fires. One of those is 109 South Hickory. That happened late last year. We've been kind of keeping an eye, letting the owner have some time before we just came in and, government banged on your door, hey, there was a fire, you have to do something today. That time frame, that reasonable time frame that we usually give, that's pretty much expired 6 months, and I don't think anything has actually happened with the property, so we're going to be getting notices of violations out for that. for the burnt structure to be secured and/or demolished or whatever they want to do with the property. Just so you're aware of it, that may come before council if we don't get an adequate response. We had another one that was up on Davis. This was 122 Davis. This was a structure fire up there in January of this year, I believe it was. It wasn't a lot of talk about it. Structure fire got taken care of, and as a matter of fact, the owners came in without us even having to contact them. They came in, the entire property's been demolished, brought back to level and clean, so without us even having to do anything, maybe our reputation is preceding us at this point, so maybe some of these news articles and things about us taking action against properties that are dilapidated or in bad condition, they went ahead and took care of that without us even having to contact them. There is one other that's 210 Barkus. This may come back up to council. It's kind of one of those funky things that there was a fire and then they secured it and then it kind of fell apart and it's a big mess, but 210 Barkus is the address. There was a fire in the garage, which kind of, it did affect the living structure, and at this point, the entire structure has been boarded, not to vacant building standards, but there's multiple owners, some of which are not in the picture, so it's one of those things where they're trying to work out their legal process, and we've tried to be patient with them, but the patience is running thin as far as them getting something done with that property. So we've had communication with them, but just to, again, that was a burnt fire structure that may be brought before council. And then one other, before I just mentioned some other properties that have been of interest recently, is 114 Davis. There's nothing really majorly structurally wrong with this property, but it is open and vacant. It was identified to us through a neighbor calling in because the back door had been blown in. We're unable to make contact with any type of owner or representative. This may be the simplest one that may ever be brought to council, which will just be a simple, we're going to secure this in an emergency fashion just to make sure that this structure is secured so we don't have vagrants, teenagers, anybody with ill wishes to get in there and cause any damage. So that's it for the actual clean and lean properties. And then I just wanted to mention, it was brought up to me about a property out on Sutterth. It's been brought up to me by multiple people, and it's in the 600 block. It used to be the Conoco station. This property was identified prior to me ever getting calls. We had actually noticed it, and during training, Deborah actually sent out the initial notice of violation. I've been contacted by the renter. I've been contacted by the property owner, and they have already made, I'll call it substantial progress, about halfway to get that property cleaned up. We're going to keep an eye on that and make sure that they follow through with the promises that they've made to make sure that we do bring it into compliance. And then...
So wait a minute, when did they clean up half of it?
This would have been in the last few days. This would have been over the weekend.
Because it was nasty as of last Friday.
Yeah. So over the weekend, I was actually receiving text messages and phone calls. That statement I haven't verified. That was just a statement by the owner that they had cleaned up half of the mess. That the portion that they may have cleaned up may have been behind the structure that you can't see, because I haven't been able to go by and actually see the property. But we will follow through.
I drive by 10 times a day. I'll go do it.
Okay. I will. I'll make sure that we follow through.
I get calls every day, all day on this, and I call you once a week, so.
Yep, you got it. We'll make sure that it gets taken care of.
Why can't we turn him in to the court, write him one for code infringement, and then start the $500 fine?
Yeah, we can.
And get him moving on it, because it's been going on for a long time now. It's not Mr. Groom that owns that anymore, is it?
Not to my knowledge. I think it's a new owner. I forget the name. I have it written down at the office.
Because they went through a phase where there was some people going to do construction, and then it was all in disarray. It sat there for a year, finally, and then the new owners, and then now we're at where we're at. So the people, the businesses around there and the people are fed up. That's the problem.
Understood. If we don't have compliance by the end of the week, we'll be moving into that criminal filing so that we can get it into the court's hands.
Okay.
The last one was brought to my attention, and this one's been on my radar for several years. It's 103 Del Mar. This was run in the paper several years ago, probably when I first started, and this is a structure that's in pretty bad shape. I wish my pictures would have worked. But just so everyone knows, 103 Del Mar, this property has changed hands within the last few years. Some permits have been pulled but not paid for. Some engineering work has been done but not, on the engineering side, but not actually completed on the physical side. So that also may be a property that's brought before council. But we're going to follow through with the initial process of making sure that we either get them permitted and started, or we put it into court. And if we can't get compliance that way, it'll be brought to council. I'll stand for questions.
I've got one. What about 131 Bonanza? I sent you a text.
Yes, I know for a fact that we have an open case file on that. Their time frame that they were given, the ordinance requires us to give them notice, and then I believe it's a 30-day, and then we don't have to give an extension after that. Their time is expiring like
Yeah.
as we speak, so it'll more than likely be brought to the municipal court.
Okay. Yeah, because I sent that to you April 29th.
Yeah. And we got the initial violation letter out. We got a response. Usually that takes somewhere between 15 and 20 days. And then once we get a response, we give them 30 days. Depending on what they say or what they actually do, we can give them an extension. At this point, the time frame's expired and it'll be moving into that court case.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Anything else?
Okay.
Thanks, Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Mayor and council, our next presentation was going to be an update on the water conservation triggers. I know that Christella and Ashley are heading back from the state engineer's office in Roswell. Is she still online? Let me look. Not, we'll just,
It's postponed to next month.
okay. Or when they're going to be here in a little bit, so we'll just have, oh, they're here. Oh, these are, okay.
You're here.
So Mayor, there's
We're
Christella.
still on Zoom trying to get into town.
Okay. Go ahead, Ron.
Okay, and Mayor, we can just have her, she can provide that on one of her items when they're back in the council chambers.
Okay.
Final one, Mayor and council, is Mike and I will be attending the New Mexico City Management Association Conference. We'll be heading out tomorrow at 2:00. We'll be available by phone, but we will have somebody here in the office that'll be handling the day-to-day operations along with the mayor, so. And I'll stand for any additional questions.
Well, it was loaded with tons of information again, the manager's report. The tourism, we received that big grant again from the tourism department that's going to help. And then I know Eddie finished up with the Fight or Flight movie that Michael J. White was really a nice guy, pleasure, and Dolph Lundgren was,
Oh, you don't know that. You didn't.
well, he showed up 2 hours late.
Oh, I know.
And a half hours, 2.5 hours late. I'm just going off of what I was told. So the convention center is doing real well over there. And so, but there's a lot of information in here that really looks good. So, and then the updates on the housing development and the other things, it looks great.
Mayor, a question for Ron. What's the status of the short-term rental work?
Let me have Mike come up on that. Mike's been working with the subcommittee, him and along with his
I
staff.
just know that there's no more pitchforks at the hardware stores. They've all been purchased.
What about torches?
Torches were gone a long time ago.
I have asked for those to be removed from a, or no.
What about all the empty bottles and wicks?
Mayor and council, Councilmember Corey, on the short-term rentals item. So the subcommittee has been moving forward week after week. We've been doing our regular staff and subcommittee meetings on Wednesdays. We've had 2 of our 3 public meetings. In the first 2, the first meeting we met with our realtors and our management companies. And so we got their feedback specifically related to issues and concerns. The second item, or the second meeting that we held was targeted more towards residents that lived around high complaint short-term rentals.
Yes.
And so we got a lot of their feedback. That was this past Wednesday. Definitely heard a lot of issues and concerns that I think in general have come to council. We recently posted an item both on Facebook and in other social media areas for our meeting on the 19th, which is next Wednesday. That social media site kind of blew up. We saw several comments, and a lot of them are actually issues that we've heard for most that have come back from the subcommittees.
Right.
There was some information that wasn't necessarily accurate, and then
Oh,
there
like
was-
the one that the mayor and his wife own short-term rentals, and We sold those 3 years ago, so yeah.
Yes, sir. And then there's other information that is in fact accurate that we're actually been in discussions with. And so you have everything that runs the gamut from increases in costs to it's private property. And so all of those things, we've basically gathered, all of that feedback we've gathered. The point of the meeting on the 19th is to get full public input again. Once we get that full public input, we'll be giving that feedback to the subcommittee. They'll be there. We'll be collecting it. We've also processed, case studies and white papers on areas that have similar, short-term rental policies or similar, areas like ours that are related to tourism. We've seen everything that runs the gamut from one side of the spectrum to completely cutting off short-term rentals and the impacts of that to the other side of just letting them go and free market enterprise and what happens. And so I think the committee has gathered enough feedback to say we're probably somewhere in between. There's probably going to be a recommendation that's made to P&Z that'll discuss more of an enforcement component and where we're at, a lot related to current issues and phone calls that we receive now. As you all may recall, in the last council meeting, you had requested some feedback related to number of calls that are out there with noise violations and things of that nature. They were relatively low. And what we've discovered through these discussions and through these public meetings is that a lot of people have actually stopped calling police for certain reasons, or they didn't realize that fire couldn't write tickets, and so they've said, well, why do we need to call? And so we've had those discussions high level. It has allowed us to talk more about the software that we talked to council about and what that possible software could do as a benefit to the village in helping that kind of enforcement component. So that's really where we're at on the short-term rental piece as well.
Well, I appreciate the update. Anecdotally, Mike, I had to call the police on the rental next door to me, and Chief, they were very responsive, and actually Airbnb evicted them.
Yes.
So I was real pleased with the action that took place, and the homeowner drove up from El Paso and personally apologized face to face. So I'm lucky in that sense, but I know some other residents aren't having that kind of luck.
And I believe, just as a reference, what the committee has been able to identify is that there are some bad apples, and that kind of squeaky wheel, so to speak, gets the attention. And so I don't think it's all of the short-term rentals that people have situations with. I do think it's few, but those few are in fact impacting significantly the neighborhoods that they're in.
And I can tell you from experience, it's very frustrating to try to go to bed and hearing the window vibrate because there's loud music. And I know a lot of residents are scared to call because of retribution, and that's regrettable. So I appreciate the work you and Planning and Zoning's doing on this, and I look forward to some solutions.
It's, just from a timeline perspective, I believe the subcommittee should finish with, after this next meeting, they'll talk to staff as a whole, just from their perspective on what can be done from a administrative side. Once that's done, there's gonna be a compilation of information and feedback. That'll be given back to P&Z, and then P&Z will make the recommendation to council as to items that they see. So that should be coming in July.
Good, thank you.
Mayor Crawford, members of the council, had one more item. We have a final walkthrough tomorrow at 8:38 a.m. at the Horton Complex for Phase 1 and 1A. And Mayor, if you want to join us at 8:30, and
That'd be awesome.
we should be expecting soon after that. If we have any punch lists, we'll work with them and have them handle that, and maybe receive the CO there soon after that. So.
Excellent. But I know you're talking about decibel meters, you're talking about better enforcement, better tracking,
Yes, sir.
higher rates for short-term rentals. A lot of different things is going into this conversation, so.
Yes, sir, and there's a lot of different things I think that council will be able to have a discussion on once P&Z makes its recommendation.
Because we have a lot more waste pickup. Jerry's guys have to go out sometimes double to pick up, and
Mayor, if I would ask Michael a couple questions there.
Yes, sir.
Well, I was at that one first subcommittee meeting, and I talked to a gentleman that was at the second one, and I just wonder, are you going to have, with the full public meeting, you're going to maybe schedule that for a little bit longer? Because if you're going to have all of them in there, it might take more than 2 hours. And that's-
Yes, sir. We've been looking at possibly pushing back the times. I know what we've done is already included a YouTube link for that item. In the other discussions, because there were so few people, it was more of a back and forth discussion. I think several of you saw kind of the fire updates, so we'll probably follow that kind of setup where there'll be a presentation on everything that's been covered by the committee, and then questions will be written questions that'll be submitted to the committee. Staff will probably read those off, and then an answer will be given by the subcommittee. That way we can gather that information, and the questions will actually act as significant feedback for us on how we can gather. There may be, that we're still discussing that. The chair will come back and we'll have a follow-up discussion with him on that meeting, but I do see something like that.
Okay, then the second question is that you stated that the people didn't realize that the fire couldn't issue citations. Now, the one gentleman I talked with, he said he made a call as far as a fire pit being burned at a short-term rental, and that the fire did inform him that they could not write citations. But you look at in the manager's report, and I believe that it was Chief Joe that stated during one particular council meeting when this was brought up about fire pits, illegal burning, that they could issue citations. But it says in there, citations for violations, citations issued, no warning, no exceptions. So where did the citations come from then?
So those citations will be coming from PD. If there's an issue or a concern that comes up, and I've had this discussion with both chiefs, basically, the discussion was there won't be any citations written by fire. There will be discussions written by PD. If there's a necessity, they come in and cite them. So what's happening right now is fire, the way I understand it is they'll go out to a call where there's an open flame item that gets sent in to dispatch. They'll ask the individuals to put the flame out just because of the situation. And at that point, if there's any back and forth, then they call in PD. PD arrives at the scene. If something isn't done, then a citation is issued.
But how does that fix with your no questions asked, no?
Well, it says no warnings, no exceptions.
That's what the flyer says in Midtown and all businesses. I thought it was just for smoking though, but I didn't know it was for
Yeah, isn't that what that is?
What's that?
For smoking?
No, that's for any kind of illegal burning,
Okay.
this and that, what it's saying.
It does say that.
Let me look into that a little bit more, just to make sure we're all on the same page, or the wording isn't
Yeah.
misleading
Well,
and
yeah, that was my interpretation of reading the level 2 fire restrictions. Citations will be issued, no warnings, no exceptions.
Mr. Mayor, Councilor Eby, the way that it's written, the fire marshal does have the authority to write citations or summons people to court in certain situations. If they do have anything that needs immediate enforcement action, they call one of us and we take care of it immediately. But that's on a case-by-case basis. But if there is something that the fire marshal needs to take enforcement action on, he will summons them into court.
So then I'll say an engine gets called out to illegal, something that suspected to be illegal burning, and the fire marshal isn't with them, do they have to call the fire marshal?
They call the PD and we take care of it. That way we can impose immediate action, enforcement action on them.
Follow-up, Chief. Who should our citizens call? The fire department or the police department?
The police department. Because typically whenever we do, especially at nighttime when we do have open flame calls, we send a PD with the fire department. So both entities are responding at the same time.
Because I was told that the firemen don't have the tools to protect themselves or anyone else Only
if
the
it got
police
heated.
department has the tools to protect
I caught that.
the citizens and themselves.
Yeah,
Correct,
and at
and-
the end of the day, they both, firemen want to be cops, but we go to protect them. So we end up taking the enforcement action.
I didn't
And,
mean that.
Mayor Crawford, as Counselor Letterman, we had a meeting with the lieutenant and Mike and I and the counselor, and that's what the Lieutenant Urban stated is if it's at night, could be possibility of drinking or whatnot. You really, that situation, you're putting them in a situation that could be harmful.
And typically at night, whenever they are having open flames and we're responding, there's been some partaking in adult beverages by that time. So we don't want to
And I
get
think-
anybody hurt.
I think that's the frustration some of these residents have about calling is,
Yeah.
creating
Just tell them to call us, the non-emergency line, or if they need us there quickly, call 911. I mean, that's always the best option.
Because Lieutenant Urban, because the person that called to me this week said that they don't want to be a burden on the police in case something really serious happens. They don't want the police to look and say, oh boy, here's this house again. And Lieutenant Urban said, call us. That's
Yes, no
so
matter what, call us.
important. So.
Okay. All right. I had one question about the swimming pool. Saw Matthew walk out. Do we get the whatever part in for the
It's coming in tomorrow from Dallas.
two nights? So we're still good with keeping the pool open?
We're checking it every hour.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, is that all you got? Any other questions of the manager? Okay, we'll move on. So we'll still wait on the ladies. We'll come back to them when they come in on the water. Reports from municipal officials. Since you're the new one there, Greg, do you want to start us off?
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, I know we all express our condolences for the tragic death of Scott Fitzgibbon. I know it was a loss to several areas of our community, and that's regrettable. On a happier note, we had the High Mountain Youth Project annual bad race this weekend, and it went well, and we were pleased with the results. The attendance was a little lower than what we had hoped, and we're going to consider tweaking that going forward. The village has enrolled me in newly elected official training next week. I don't know if that was because I did something wrong or. Oh, I thought it was Monday, the 20th. Okay, I better talk to my wife.
You got it right.
Okay, anyway, thank you for that. I mentioned to the police chief, I've received a couple of calls and an email regarding speeding. I know the chief was very responsive and got a meter up on, I've heard complaints on Main Road. And I think you indicated, chief, that only 4% of the traffic were actual speeders, so that's good news. I did talk to Judge Potter the other day, and and I was confused because I thought he was advocating us not to raise fines, but he's saying no, it's the fees we're not supposed to raise. But he said he's heard, neighboring communities' speed fines are significantly higher than ours. And I don't know if that's something
We're working on that with the league.
Okay.
And the judges, we had a meeting last Wednesday and Thursday in Santa Fe where that was brought up. And so they're supposed to be giving a recommendation to the chief and then the chief recommends them to the council, and then we give them to the judicial branch.
Okay, thank you.
But you're right.
That's all I had.
Okay? Counselor Jackson?
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, just on that, as a segue to that, I think many may not be aware that there's a movement about to basically stop municipal courts from their existence in many communities. And all I wanted to say is that it's never been our, and I think I speak for all of us, ever our focus that that ever be done away with and that it be supported. And I think that gives a better voice to those who appear before the municipal court. Because I remember when Judge Line, they had a service for him at the, it was about 3 weeks, it was a memorial service. The outpouring of compassion for the family as well as his memory was outstanding. And it all centered around the fact that he was a fair and honest man who really tried to help the community and its residents. And I don't think we should ever lose sight of that. Again, Parks and Rec, through the tournaments and then the fire and then the movement of the tournaments and where they were playing ball, stepped up a tremendous amount. And it was amazing to me after all that, that you go 2 days later and you would never know looking at those fields that there was ever anybody on them. I mean, the cleanup and everything it was phenomenal, and I appreciate that. Again, the street department is continuously at work, and I think nothing can be said better than they're always there, and no one really misses them until they don't have their water.
Yep.
And as far as short-term rentals are concerned, I hope the focus, Mike, also with that is that they're looking at some sort of chain of command where a truly responsible, duly responsible individual for that property can be contacted, and that it can't be a shell game about, well, I manage it, but I don't own it, and on and on. So it looks like that is a hot-button issue, and it is certainly with the residents. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Counselor Hooker?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mine, short and sweet, took a little trip around our country, ended up Arizona, Utah, and it's great to come home. But when you see what goes on here and the way other communities are, I mean, it is a pleasure to come home. So really enjoy being a part of things, and I think even though we work through all this stuff, the end game is still the same, making it the best place to live. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes, Mayor. It's a great kickoff for the summer. I mean, the Memorial Weekend was a lot of people and a lot of activities. I got to go watch a concert in the park on Friday night. That was my first one. It was great. I had to sit up close because I forgot my hearing aid. So I got up and turned around, and man, there was over 200 people sitting back there. But excellent job on all of that. And again, yeah, Parks and Rec really stepped it up for the weekend of Memorial Weekend. And I'm sorry I missed the ribbon cutting of the tennis court, so.
I didn't even know about
I
it.
didn't know either.
Wow, I'd say unlocking the gate.
Well, they're already being used.
Unlocking the gate, so it was well received because there was the comments, but I remember you saying, Matthew, that the windscreens are on order, that they're, because I did get that asked, and I said, no, they're not done yet, but they will be up there, so that's all I have, Mayor.
That whole area is looking real good.
Oh, it does. It's wonderful. Oh, nice.
All right, Counselor Letterman?
Well, Sunday morning, jumped in the shower and I was like this, and all of a sudden, and so I quit. And Adam and Marty to the rescue at 9:30. So, thank you very much. The whole neighborhood, thank you.
So they washed your hair for you?
No, they did not.
I didn't, I kind of got lost.
I'm sorry. No, I was able to go to church, and there they were, working at 9:30 in the
Well, I
morning.
thought that was the level of service you guys provided.
Man, yeah.
Wow.
The poor guy, I would never do that to them. And then I was talking to a lady, short-term rental, and she had nothing but wonderful things said about Christie in our short-term rental.
Good.
Michael as well, and Police Department and Ron, so that's always nice to hear. And then I got Mr. Tom Lutterman to go to, Mr. Grumpy, to go to the parks on Friday, and oh my God, it was wonderful. He loved it.
The music?
Yes, it was, we had so much fun. And so I would hope it's free, and it's a lot of residents, Ruidoso residents, you know, this. And so I would hope that people, I think that we're 14, so I think there's 11 more.
Yeah.
And it's just a fun time. There was a vendor for food, and kids were playing, and parents were visiting and listening to great music. That was a great night. I loved that.
Good to hear it.
So, and we have a Thursday night at 6 p.m. at the library behind. We have a concert. So,
Excellent.
yeah,
Anything else?
I think I'm done.
Thank you, Joe.
Well, Mr. Grumpy's never been grumpy around me. I haven't seen that side of Mr. Grumpy, but I'll have to ask him about that.
It must be me.
Anyway, I did go to the New Mexico Municipal League meeting this last week with the mayor, and he presided flawlessly over a
That's not true.
run meeting. We just passed the budget. Many of you are pretty familiar with the New Mexico Municipal League and the work that they do. Later on, I think Jenny and I will be the only ones going to the resolution committee meetings,
Yes.
which is important because that is finalizes, it's a process and in the end finalizes what type of recommendations or legislation that the municipal league is going to back for the betterment of the municipalities of New Mexico. But touching on the short-term rentals, I am gonna, just say disappointed in the turnout. You hear all these people talking about this way, short-term rentals that way. They're the worst thing that ever happened. They're this and that and the other thing, and nobody shows up until after everything. So,
don't read
I mean,
Facebook.
why didn't the public show up? If they're going to have so much complaining and so much to say that we need to do this, we should have done that, and they never show up to any of the meetings. So hopefully with the public meeting that we'll have a lot more people, especially if you open it up for online and then make comments that way, that you'll have more attendance that way. But I think people, if they're going to voice concerns about anything, that they need to show up and try to get, let's just say, push for their ideas and make their opinions known. And also, I think that's a wealth of information, listening to the mayor and Ron and all of his guests Monday morning.
Yeah.
I enjoy listening to that. I know that twice in a row that you've mentioned that the road department has their own asphalt plant.
It's broke.
That's very important.
And it's broken.
And it's broken right now, but we're working on getting a piece in. We were so proud of it, and,
You say even broke, it's worth $1 million.
yeah, I said even broke, yeah.
It's just out of
Yes,
commission.
but it's just a pleasure living here and working with everybody in the village. So thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Yeah, but the streets department, they do a big work, and I know Innsbrook, and then the painting and striping will be finished on Country Club in Barkus when we get the plant back running. And again, we're one of the only municipalities in the state that has one, so we want to keep it running. Okay, thank you very much again, and I would like to chime in with what Councilor Corey said about the Fitzgibbons family and also the family of the other driver. We know some of those folks. It's just tragic all the way around.
Yes.
The owner of the establishment, but we need to always be vigilant.
Yep.
On watching these kind of things, and so it brings up the speeding issue and other things. Just we need to take our time. All right, we're going to move into public hearings, And so this is public hearing for proposed ordinance 2024.
Chris?
What was that? Oh, yeah. Let me get these ladies over here. 2024-03, an ordinance for safe and anonymous surrender of infants, allowing persons to leave infants not more than 90 days of age in safety devices for surrender under certain conditions without criminal prosecution for abandonment or abuse of a child, allowing the installation and operation of safety devices for the surrender of infants. So you ladies want to come on up, and Counselor, do we need, how is this going to be handled? By counselor, I mean lawyer. I'm sorry. On the public hearing, is this going to be just for informational, or this is to pass the ordinance, and so we'll, like a quasi judicial on this one?
Well, no, but Jenny?
I'm sorry, this isn't the quasi, it's just legislative.
Right.
Okay, this is just legislative. Okay, thank you. Yes, ma'am, if you'll introduce yourselves, please.
Yes, I'm Chelsea Kimbrell, and
I'm Haley Thompson.
Okay, Kimbrell like Kimbrell.
Yep.
Okay, gotcha.
Yep, guilty.
See,
We're both labor and delivery nurses at Lincoln County Medical Center. I'm not sure exactly what information you've been provided about the Safe Haven Baby Box. It is a tool, like you said, for parents that feel they're in crisis in order for them to abandon their child, surrender their child without fear of prosecution, and it allows them to have the anonymity. We've all heard of the tragic events in all over New Mexico. And while we do have the Safe Haven law, it doesn't offer the anonymity that a lot of people need, especially in a community like ours. Everyone knows everyone. So this allows someone who may feel like they are in crisis to safely surrender their child.
you know, I understand there's already been 2 in Hobbs
Yes.
that have
And
been
then
dropped off.
one in Belen.
And one in Belen.
Yeah,
Wow.
so 3 across the state.
Yes.
Okay. And so this will be at the hospital?
That's the plan. There's some technicalities as to where it has to be placed. We're hoping it might be able to be placed on the EMS building, as it is a little more off to the side and not directly right
there.
front and center of the hospital. So that would be the preferred.
So how does this work? Has it got an alarm on it or something?
Yes, it is. It's installed into the side of the building. There's a door that opens. The baby is placed into the bassinet. There's information that the parent takes with them. Once the door is closed, it locks, and an alarm is then triggered. There's a delay in time for the parent to then leave, and the alarm is triggered, and then the average time is about 2 minutes before the baby is then retrieved from the box and goes directly to the emergency room for evaluation.
Okay. Excellent. And then at that point, they go with CYFD or?
Yes, they're then in custody of CYFD, yes.
So can the parents, I was in crisis that day and now I'm not in crisis, can they come back to you? Or to whoever, CYFD, I guess, huh?
It's a 30 to 45 day period, I believe, that they have the ability to ask.
Sure.
For the infant to be returned. And I'm certain that CYFD has their own process for that. I don't know what that is.
Awesome. Okay.
And then there's grant money that is available for each county. It's a $10,000 grant that's available, so.
Is that coming through the county or through us?
Mayor Crawford, members of the council, we have applied and received the grant award. 10,000 will come to the village, and we'll work directly with the Lincoln County Medical Center on that.
Excellent.
And then what would that go for? The $10,000?
Box.
Toward,
Box.
yes. The installation, the box, there's other fees. Of course, the alarm system has to be wired a certain way.
Sure.
And after that, there's annual fees that we believe are about $300. So we were hoping to maybe talk to our auxiliary or other facilities in town that might be able to.
Absolutely.
To that.
I did read about that for the operation, about $300 a month and.
$300 a month?
No, 300, a year?
Annually.
A month. But the box, I was pulling it up, was like 11,000 or 14,000, I
It's
believe. And
$11,000, which includes the pre-installation, the installation services, which is inspection, and then training for the personnel. Post-installation services, which is marketing, there's a hotline that's available for members of the community, including any parents that surrender. Advertising, and then raising awareness on the state and local level. Other fees that are not included can be up to $7,500, and I can rattle off all of those things if you need me to. That includes delivery, installation, electrical and alarm.
Permits, transportation.
I guess what I'm getting at is, would the ladies auxiliary be the place to donate funds, that if organizations or people want to donate money? I guess an established 501c, so that, like I said, you'll probably get donations in funds once they know what this is all gonna entail.
Well, and it probably would be a good idea to reach out to the local churches.
And that's what I'm getting at and stuff, so where if that would be, especially if the operating cost, annual would be 3,000 right off or more than that, but.
The annual fee, and once
Annual.
it's installed and everything's in place, then it should be a $300 fee for it to be,
And that's that company or the program's estimate, right? I don't know what our security or our alarm systems charge and stuff too, so.
Yeah, that's for the monitoring, I guess. And
Yeah, well, because that's, as I was reading on it, yeah, it activates 911 and plus through that security system and the hospital knowing that, hey, there's a baby there. So, I mean, it's all good, don't get me wrong, it's all good.
Oh, Mayor, I have
Yes, sir.
questions there. I guess the first would be, there were two surrendered in Hobbs and one in Belinda. How long was that Hobbs box been in operation?
I believe it's actually one of the newer boxes that's been installed.
Pardon?
I believe it's one of the more recent boxes that's been installed.
Okay, so it's been utilized pretty quick. And then you're saying that there's been legislation passed in certain states, and of course, New Mexico wasn't on here, and it said the quickest way to obtain one of these boxes or to get it going within a municipality is to pass a local ordinance. So I just wondered how that works. Is there any, as far as passing the local ordinance when there's no legislation passed in the state, legally, what happens? What is it that, because we passed the ordinance allowing this, that there's nothing in the state that would conflict?
the state does have the Safe Haven Baby Law, where anyone can abandon a child to either a hospital or a fire department.
All right.
And the ordinance has to be updated to include the Safe Haven box.
All right. Thank you.
I don't know if that answers your question.
Because I was just reading what Joe was talking about, the states that have existing legislation passed, New Mexico's not in it. Right. That I saw, so that's what I was wondering if, I'm sure maybe the state is, but we wouldn't be at this level, I don't think, if it hadn't been already.
Yes, okay. I think she clarified that because we do have an amendment that they do allow that. As if it's essentially a surrender of the child.
And I just wonder if there's any counseling or whatever, but since it's anonymous, the parents, they wouldn't even know who to counsel, I guess, but.
The packet that, when they.
Oh, it's
board
got it in
place,
there?
Yes, it has resources, counseling, support services available,
Okay,
and information as to what happens after the fact.
okay, all right. Does anybody else have any questions?
Oh, one more. To who actually is in charge of the maintenance of that and periodic inspections of that? I know that it stated that you had to test the alarm for 7 consecutive days when you initiate?
I believe that there's regular testing of the alarm, which would involve whatever alarm company we would have locally. And then they do have an annual inspection as well. That is done by this company, I believe.
But as far as the inspection of the entirety of the boxes to make sure everything's working right, who's responsible for that?
On a regular basis, it would annually be from this company, and then I believe.
Safe Haven?
Yes, yes.
So I wonder if
And then
that's,
on a regular basis, it would be our alarm company and our maintenance.
Okay, and it also stated in there as far as the fundraising, that all the fundraising would be going, as far as your procedures and such. I just wonder if you ever thought about, maybe, having maybe local entities want to sponsor a month as far as the cost of operations for that box, say, sponsor January, sponsor February for, the Baby Safe Box, I guess that's what it's called, drop-off box. I'm sure there'd be some people around town, maybe the hospital would be 1 month and so on.
Yeah, that's a great idea, thank you.
okay. Does anybody have any other questions, comments? Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, I want to first thank you for the specialty that you're in. I don't think there's any harder work than a labor and delivery nurse. And you bring such joy to people most of the time. And so it's very rewarding work, and you're to be applauded for it. As regards the other, Joe, the hospital also has an auxiliary foundation. It has a hospital foundation. PHS has a foundation. There are a lot of entities within that, and especially the auxiliary, which are have an open book and generosity toward this sort of thing. And I think the nice thing about the box is that it allows the anonymity, which before they didn't have. It was physically handing the child over. I can't imagine the terror of that in a frightened woman who's just given birth. So, and as far as the monitoring of it, I think of it no less than I do anything else in the hospital or one of our clinics. You're going to have fire, all those things have to be on a checklist. I mean, there's a multitude of steps to ensure its activity. It isn't that it's just going to be observed casually and hope that it works. It doesn't really work that way at all. And there's the liability issues on the part of the hospital. So I believe that I speak freely when I say we would take a great deal of concern with that and the use of it. But my process question is, once this occurs and the 2-minute delay has occurred and the lady has left, then the baby is retrieved. Is it then taken to labor and delivery or to the hospital, to the nursery, or what is the next step?
I believe ideally it would be taken to the ER, just to be checked over to make sure that baby is like in good health and those types of things, and then the baby would go with COFD.
And then isn't that nursery an area, when you have that type of delivery, isn't it in a separate area than those that are delivered in the hospital where the babies are kept, or not?
So we actually don't have like a nursery anymore where like all babies are kept.
It's with the mothers?
We do rooming in, so they all stay in the rooms with the moms. So we have like a 1-bed nursery that's really reserved for like sick babies that are waiting transport to a bigger facility.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again.
But up to a 3-month-old baby can be placed in.
Yes,
Yeah.
90 days.
Yeah.
So, and if the baby is well and doesn't require any hospitalization, then it would go direct into CYFD care.
Okay, anything else?
But I think that should, excuse me, Mr. Mayor, I think that would reassure everyone that all these steps are in place to assure the health and wellness of the baby.
Yes.
So,
Okay. All right, if I get a motion
Did you open up for
Oh.
public?
we don't have to. He said this wasn't a public hearing.
It's not a quasi-judicial board.
Oh, we still need to open up?
You
Okay.
still need to open up.
Okay, well, do we need to swear anybody in? Is anybody in the public? We want to open it up to the public. If anybody has any comments for or against this, raise your hand if you're online to be recognized, or if you're in the audience, please raise your hand. See anything? There's nobody? Okay, we'll close the public portion of the comment, and then I'd entertain a motion, please.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
did the clerk receive any correspondence regarding this issue? Mayor, Counselor Salas, the office did not receive any letters of opposition or support.
Thank you. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you. You finally got to say
I finally
that.
got to say it.
I was wondering if he was going to pass on that, but I didn't think so. Mr. Mayor, I heartily move to approve ordinance 2024-03, an ordinance for safe and anonymous surrender of infants, allowing parents to leave infants no more than 90 days of age in safety devices for surrender under certain conditions without criminal prosecution for abandonment or abuse of a child, allowing the installation and operation of safety devices for the surrender of infants.
Second.
So how do they know if it's 90 days? They're not dropping off a birth certificate, I bet.
Size.
So it's a guess, you know.
Well, we measure and weigh.
Yeah.
And I don't think you'd ever not open the box if it was over 90 days, but I just say that. There are measurements that you do, calf to foot and all of
Ways
that.
to determine.
And these ladies know enough about those babies and how old they are and probably have some of their own. I don't remember ours, but anyway, there are ways to know.
I
Especially
know
if
some
they have.
15-year-olds that parents would like to drop off.
Oh, I know. That's why there's not a big box.
All right, so we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I,
Okay, and we'll have a roll call, please, ma'am.
Counselor Jackson?
Aye.
Counselor Letterman?
aye.
Counselor Corey?
Aye.
Counselor Hooker?
Aye.
Counselor Salas?
Aye.
Counselor Eby?
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank
ladies,
you
for
very
coming in,
much.
spending time with us and giving us some education. Okay, now that we'll go back to Christella and Ashley, and we will talk about, excuse me. Where was that at?
Mayor, that was updates on water conservation triggers.
There you go, under Village Manager's Report.
Welcome, Christella and Ashley. They had a road trip today, a Turnimber? That's what they call those. Headed to Roswell for a meeting at the OSC's office and headed back.
Was it a good meeting?
Yes. It was a good
Oh, good, because somebody's been texting me, so.
Oh, yes,
So it was a good meeting.
yes.
Awesome.
I'm like, which one?
You know what one.
Yeah.
So, what's our water update?
Pardon me?
Our water update, your report.
So right now, we are still, staying with what's in the ordinance. Christella and I will be reviewing the conservation triggers. We have, worked with Roger Peary on helping us set up new water conservation triggers. From that point on, we're going to look at the ordinance and kind of readjust it to make sure it reflects what's actually out there. And also take into account, the type of season we're in. So if it's going to be drought, if we're expecting monsoon rain, and that'll also help determine those levels as well.
And part of our strategic plan for the next fiscal year is also to develop a more comprehensive water conservation plan, not just the water conservation triggers in the ordinance, but also a plan for the village, a comprehensive plan for the village as well,
So
so.
triggers are like rain flow, river flow, snowfall.
Yes.
All of those, okay?
It's gonna be more comprehensive, and it's probably gonna be, we're not gonna keep it at the same level for months on end. It's gonna take into consideration a lot more different, I'm not saying triggers, but I can't even think of,
The weather patterns.
weather patterns, yes. And also, drought conditions and those type of things.
Mayor, question for Christella. We haven't changed that
Since
in years, have
Little
we?
Bear, since Little Bear.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we plan to make that a priority in this next fiscal year. That was part of our strategic plan for this next year.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions?
Rifle missed it.
Rifle missed it, but he heard you. Do you have any questions?
No.
Okay. Thank you, ladies.
Thanks,
Appreciate it.
ladies.
Thank you. Thanks for rushing back.
Sure, no problem. We would have gone a little faster, but we didn't get a ticket.
No,
Yeah,
we
there
don't.
you go.
You had to come through the downs. They'll get you. Item number 1, regular item, discussion and possible action on the method of renaming streets related to the E911 process. This is all sticky wicket stuff here.
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. So as you recall, you all went through a series of meetings that related to the E911 project that we have. Part of that E911 project was shifting from Phase 1 to Phase 2. As part of Phase 2, there was a renaming component of possible names that were identified. As you all recall, there was a number, it was about 106, and so of that number that could still possibly grow, there has to be a renaming process. The way the current ordinance reads, which is section 54-146, the village may initiate one or more of the following. It's in the naming or unnamed roads, modifications of existing road names, the assignment and addressing number to unaddressed structures, or the modification of existing address numbers through the following procedures. And then under subsection A, numbers 2 and 3, basically no later than 45 days from the date on the form, which is the identified date we would do that, each property owner on that street may state his or her preferred name by completing the form, signing it, and returning the form to the village, and then the addressing committee will then provide and approve a new road name based on the name selected by the majority of homeowners. So based on that discussion with the number of names, there was a back and forth with the consultant as to how we would approach this. I believe if we follow this process, basically, it would definitely prolong the amount of time that we would need to identify each road name. At the same time, if you go the complete opposite direction, this is the process we have to follow today, based on the ordinance. If there was direction from council to say, we probably need to modify this a little bit because of the situation, we would bring back one or two options, which is what we discussed, where we would take some version of this along with, and this version is definitely getting feedback from the community, but providing a list of names that would be
It
alternate.
would kind of fit the area of town,
Yes, sir.
so no Hooker Drive.
That's what I was looking
I
for.
know, man.
Come on.
I bet you get winter there.
Hooker Lane.
Hooker Lane.
And so that would be.
Traffic in your area.
That would be a suggested method that we could move forward with. However, in order to do that, we would actually have to have an ordinance change. And so we're looking for that kind of direction on whether you'd like to follow the current process as is, or move to change the ordinance so that we could bring back recommendations as to how that would be changed. Those would go to P&Z. We do have, after this meeting, that we're still within the time frame to make the recommendation to P&Z so that they can have that discussion, and then in turn make that recommendation back to council after the appropriate hearings and process is followed. And so we would try and make a hybrid version where we get the appropriate names, have a vote, and make those recommendations submitted back so that that renaming can happen. There was a recommendation by the consultant that basically said, just get a list and approve them and move. I think that would be detrimental to the community. And so we're trying to find that middle ground that, one, is still allows us to be expedient, but that makes sure we engage the community in what that would look like.
Do you have a recommendation, Mike?
Staff's recommendation is that we would move forward with a list of names that would be appropriate for the area, and that it would go out to vote, and then it would come back.
Mayor, I have a question on that. So Michael, what you're saying as far as the ordinance, the way it reads right now, is that each individual would make a notation of what they would like the name changed to, but as far as their recommendations, as far as people who did the study, they would be given a list of 3 names to pick from. So are you suggesting that we change the ordinance to that they make their choices from the list provided to them? Whether it be, you don't have to state how many is on the list, but that is provided from the village to pick from. And then they're recommending that the one with the most votes, that's the one, and if it's a tie, then the staff gets to make it.
We'll figure out, yes, sir. Mayor and Councilmember Eby, that is correct. Just a little bit of clarification. So the recommendation from the consultant was actually just getting a list of multiple names and just approving to change the ordinance so that there wasn't technically any feedback or a version of that feedback. That was so that they could continue the process. They also stated that we believe that there should be some community involvement, but because of our time frame, this would be the fastest and most expedient way. That's why they had recommended it that way. Our recommendation is a hybrid of both, to your point, where we would take that list, they would vote, and then still implement those names, but based on that, yes.
I just thought I read somewhere with that, for one street, that you would give these people on that street 3 names that they could pick from. That was in.
That would be accurate, yes, sir.
But it would be the street names that these people chose for us? Or
No,
is
we-
it where, okay, so Sunny Slope, we're changing, so give us 3 names. Is that what we're asking for?
No, what it's saying is here's 3 names. We're changing the street, which are the people that
who's
live
gonna
there.
give the-
Staff's gonna come up with the,
We would work with the consult, so the consultant was, we can just populate a list
Yeah, I
based
know.
on X. We would ask them, can you help us populate a list by these areas that are more localized names that come out of that area? So we would ask for that assistance. We could come up
From
with
them,
names.
though? How are they gonna know?
Well, they're going to populate the names from the existing streets they have in the data form. So if you're in an area that, like, you know, you have LL Davis, you have whatever, then they'll be populating 3 names that the people that live on that street that's getting changed would pick, and the majority, whichever street gets the most votes. Because everybody's going to have a different name if you put it in there.
Yeah.
So if you're on the bird, because in
Country club
today's.
area, you know.
Yes, because in today's instance, what would happen is if every single one of you lived on the same street, each one of you would need to fill out a form and then submit the name of a street that you believe in. So if everyone filled out a different street name, and maybe 2 matched, that would end up being the predominant name. Whereas in this case, if we sent out 3 different names to everyone on that street, they would at least have that selection and we could identify what that would.
And Mr. Mayor, also, Michael, and I believe if I read down here in number 4, as you go through this process and it's convoluted, then you, whatever those lists of names that you've come up with, I think you'd be reasonably assured they'd be approved by the Postal Service.
Yes.
Because when you don't have that and you just let it out there, you may have names that the Postal Service, Happy Hooker Lane and others, may not really be happy
That's a
with.
good one.
I'm all about it. I'll move.
That's a good one. I like that. Happy.
But it has nothing to do with address change.
No, sir, it would just be
Name
strictly
change.
the
So we're
name
talking about
changes.
possibly 106.
106 is what's been identified as duplicate or phonetically sounding similar names. There's still names out there that would probably need to be included, so that number will probably grow.
And if I may to that as well, kind of on our discussions, we had the part where 2 existing roads have duplicate names. We only changed 1, however, the advisory has come to change both of them. So that increases the need for how many actual street names we do. Will be required to start presenting out, so everybody gets brought in. And that's where the process for the delegation and how it needs to be set forth, per y'all's standards and wishes is being requested today.
Okay?
And that was a direction from the post office, right?
Yes. Because they had problems with if we kept only 1, how are they supposed to know who was actually the real one, who's actually being affected by the new one, that we'd have too much cross mail.
Oh, my gosh.
Okay, so staff's recommendation on here says to approve method of renaming streets. So the method that you're proposing is the hybrid?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any other discussion, questions from staff? From the council?
Would you prefer, excuse me, Mr. Mayor, would you prefer it be stated in the motion that it be a hybrid methodology? Would that define it a little better in the motion?
I believe so, yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, I so move to approve a hybrid methodology of renaming streets related to the E91 process.
Second.
Any final discussion? Okay. Roll call, please, ma'am.
Counselor Jackson,
Aye.
Counselor Hooker,
Aye.
Counselor Corey,
Aye.
Counselor Salas,
Aye.
Counselor Letterman,
No.
and Counselor Eby.
Okay. Item number 2, discussion and possible action on resolution 2024-21, a resolution establishing fees for building evaluation charts, chapter 22, buildings and building regulations, section 22 through 34 permit fees. And hello, Dave.
Mayor and council, as Dave passes these out, this is just an updated form. The form you received in your packet is accurate on all of the metric portion. The bottom section was actually updated recently, and we just want to make sure you get the accurate form that was updated.
The sheet I just handed out reflects the current ICC evaluation, which we've subscribed to, and below it is the new valuations based on 2 increases. One that from 22, which we did not implement, and the other from last year, which this is going to cover. And so it will be reflecting approximately 10% from the previous year and 5% for this year. And then I'm also, that's a Freudian slip, we are proposing a valuation increase on some electrical fees. And one of the fees will actually drop in the plumbing fee to align with the other fees in the plumbing and the mechanical.
Mayor, question for David.
Yes, sir.
What, did we do surveys to come up with these fees? Did we do surveys to come up with these fees?
No, these fees are implemented. We follow the ICC, which is an international.
Well, this one says IBC, but International Building Code or International Commercial
Yes.
Code?
They come up with the valuation, and we subscribe to it.
And Mayor and Councilmember Corey, each and every year, there's an update that's usually done by IBC or ICC. They've done a lot of the legwork to identify what the fees are, how that goes into the work processing and all of those items. And so the idea is that the administrative function is to move forward to adopt those fees to cover what that work looks like each year.
And then the subcontract fees, if you will, were based on the increase evaluation the ICC proposed. And then on the electrical fee schedule, I attempted to align more closely with the state and their fees. In some areas, our fees were woefully low.
Dave, was this reviewed with the P&Z Commission?
Yes, it was reviewed on June 2nd, and they do have a recommendation to approve as presented.
And I should also throw in that that the square foot prices or evaluation, we're using the same multiplier. Say you have a $100,000 house, it'll be the same multiplier for the permit fees. It's just that this will increase that 100,000. So our cash grab isn't more. It's just based on the inflation-induced evaluation.
Do you need a motion?
Yes, anybody have any other questions?
I move that we accept Resolution 2024-21, a resolution establishing fees for building evaluation charge, Chapter 22 Buildings and Building Regulations, Section 22-34 Permit Fees.
Second.
Roll call, please, ma'am.
Counselor Letterman.
Aye.
Counselor Corey,
Aye.
Counselor Jackson,
Aye.
Counselor Hooker,
Aye.
Counselor Salas,
Aye.
Counselor Eby.
Aye.
Thank you, Dave. Thanks, Stephanie.
Thank you.
Thank you all of you guys. Thank you for getting this work.
Item number 3, discussion and possible action on change order number 1 with D&R Tank for water storage tank rehabilitation rebid, ITB number 2024-001B, requesting an extension of 175 days to June the 4th, 2025, and increasing contract amount by $2,106,478.78, including New Mexico GRT. Yes, sir, Randy?
Good afternoon, Mayor, council members. My name is Randy Kane, Water Production Manager.
We know because we recognize the hat. Can't get it out of my mind.
It
looks nice, it's new.
Hopefully we do better, so. But anyways, I also have Robert Story from SMA on the
Okay.
line to answer any questions or concerns.
Okay, Sauter Mill and Associates, Robert.
Correct. This change order number 1 with DNR Tank will cover lead abatement on the interior and exterior. It will cover the coating on both tanks. It will also cover the rehab or the additional items that they found on both tanks, on Middle Gavilan and the 5 million tank. And the demolition of the grindstone 1 million gallon tank if the ISO rating comes back like we expect. This change order, it also includes 175 days to June 4th, 2025. This change order also is a worst-case scenario, so they absolutely put in the worst. So this amount should cover everything entirely. It also puts in a few placeholders on items that might be needed or might not be needed. So it's just a way to put them in so we don't have to come back and do another change order or some kind of modification. Just wanted to mention one thing real quick on the additional rehab items. They were identified with the second inspection by DNR Tank. They did a visual and an ROV, which is a remote controlled underwater operating vehicle. And they did this at their cost. They didn't charge anything, to the village. And then the other thing, the change order will remove items 4 through 20. That's the grindstone tank from the contract. They will add items A3-1 through GA8. So, and of course, the change order is for $2,106,000 or $2,106,478.78. And then that increases the new contract to $4,067 and $67,382.63. So.
Okay, I thought you said it includes removing the grindstone tank, or it's
Yes.
removing it from the contract?
No.
Removing the whole tank from the.
Okay.
Yeah, and then.
Once
what
the ISO and everything's determined?
Yeah. It's removing the actual items that they were gonna do to the tank, and then, now they're gonna put in the demo cost.
Okay.
For removing it.
And it's in this amount?
Right.
I just didn't find the demos portion.
220,000, and, let me see, it's on here, it's item, number GR-1.
Oh, I see it now,
Yeah,
yeah. It's a
demolition.
bullet point down towards the end.
Right.
Okay, there it is.
$233,171, so,
GR1,
yep, grindstone 1.
233,171, okay?
And this does include the coating on the outside tanks that we had talked about in the workshop.
Excellent.
And I just wanted to point out real quick on bid item number 14. It said sandblast and recoat Gavilan tank, that should have been grindstone tank, so. So that's just the typo that's in there that I found also.
So when they talk about recoat the tank, Gavilan tank, including lead abatement, is that like lead paint or what? So they're
Yes.
taking the lead paint off?
Yep, and it's expensive.
And then we're putting new paint, hopefully it's not water-based like all of our street paint.
Correct.
So, and then they'll put a coating over that.
Yep.
Okay, awesome.
And then, of course, you know, they did the testing of it on the outside, and we didn't know if it had lead or not. So they determined it, after the testing, it did have lead, so.
Well, it's been on there for many, many years, so you know it, probably.
So that elevates the cost quite a bit.
152,000.
Yeah. And then the reason why some of these items went in or came up higher is because if you replace both floors on both tanks, that's almost, it's like $493,000. But they might come in and they might not find it that they have to replace the whole thing.
So that's why you say it's worst case, right?
Yeah. And then take it in mind that when they're going off inspections from a couple of years ago, and then when they come in with the divers, you know, they can see as much as they can and try to identify everything, but things change in a couple of years. Grindstone tank in particular, when they did the inspection, and, you know, they notated certain things, but when they came in a few years later, there was a lot of damage. I mean, the rafters had dropped, and so.
Yeah, that's.
So a lot of things have changed, and then, you know, you get sedimentation on the bottom, and they have to remove it. So when you do a dry inspection, you get a better visual of what's actually going on. So that's kind of what they found out when they went through the grindstone tank. We drained it. Things were a lot worse than they expected, and then what the inspection explained. So, I mean, of course, they wanted to do the dry inspections, but we wouldn't allow that because that takes down to 5 million gallons and then 1 million gallons. So, the other thing I was gonna say is, we have a tank schedule that we kind of proposed. Like in August, they would come in and they would, start on the rehab of the little D tank. And of course, that would be on the tail end of the busy season. And then, you know, it's better for fire protection too. And then, November, they would come in and start, the grindstone demo. So, you know, and that's gonna be a big project right there, so. And January, February 2025, they're gonna come in and start on the Alto West tank. And that's a lot better because, it's gonna be after the fire season, and the water demand will be a lot lower, so. It's kind of the best scenario.
Mayor, question for Randy. No disruption of service?
No, sir. Nice thing about it is on the 5 million gallon tank, we have another one that we can isolate, so we'll still have that in service. And the middle Gavilan, that's a little trickier. We're putting in a PRV so we can actually, you know, take care of the demand and everything, so. So there's a few things we're working on now to have in place before we take the tank offline.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a lot of work, and this project will probably be the death of me. So,
That's why you're retiring.
yeah. But it's kind of it's a complex project, and things have changed so quickly. You know, we go in one direction and we're changing this direction, and now we're going this one, and so, but it's gonna be a good project once we get it done, so.
We appreciate your consideration and your patience with the changes that have come through, the last minute changes that came along with the additional inspections.
And so what's this about retiring?
Yes.
In March,
In March, did you know that?
He said it could be bought.
Mayor Crawford, members of the council, he had provided an earlier date and then he extended it, so, but we haven't seen anything in writing, so.
Use a new purple hat.
Yeah, no kidding.
I think he said if his Vikings win, he'll stay on a few more years.
And maybe those 50-yard line seats and.
Yes.
Is that included in the 2 million?
No, not really.
You ready for a motion?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve change order number 1 with DNR Tank for water storage tank rehabilitation rebid, ITB number 2024-001B, requesting an extension of 175 days to June 4th, 2025, and increasing contract amount by $2,106,478.78, including NMGRT.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call, please, ma'am.
Counselor Hooker,
Aye.
Counselor Jackson,
Aye.
Counselor Corey,
Aye.
Counselor Salas,
Aye.
Counselor Letterman,
Aye.
Counselor Eby.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Robert, and we know he'll be watching the project.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
Item number 4, discussion and possible action on EJCDC C520 agreement between the Village of Ruidoso and Spartan Construction of New Mexico, LLC. Spartan Construction of New Mexico, that's the name of the company, Spartan of New Mexico?
Yeah.
For Upper Canyon Diversion Development awarded via invitation to bid 2024-010B in the amount of $2,024,887.16, including New Mexico GRT.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. This is just to award the contract over to Spartan Construction to begin work on the Upper Canyon surface diversion. We do not plan on beginning construction until after the monsoon rains have stopped. We will also have a short construction window as we'll need to be done before snow melt happens.
And as we discussed previously, we'll make sure to keep the homeowners involved.
Yes.
and
Thank you.
informed, throughout, prior to the project and throughout.
I know they appreciated it last time. Thank you.
I have a
Go ahead.
question. The 2 million, that's for everything?
That's for
Yeah,
everything, that's
okay.
the demoing and
Yeah,
putting in the
okay,
stuff.
thank you.
And as we discussed previously, we did get $918,000 in grant funding
Yeah,
and had set some money aside in SGRT for the project.
thank you.
Is there going to be any, say, resident meetings with the people in that?
Yeah, that's what they're just talking about.
So, we have their contact information, and as we get closer, we'll start reaching out to them and letting them know. They are aware of our plans, to award the contract and with potential storage on the easement land for any materials that the contractor might need before construction begins. We do plan on keeping them in the loop. We have not heard back from them since our meeting, and we have sent over the as-builts for this project as well.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Can I get a motion?
I move that we accept EJCDC C-520 agreement between the Village of Ruidoso and Spartan Construction of New Mexico, LLC, for Upper Canyon Diversion Development awarded via invitation to bid number 2024-010B in the amount of $2,024,887.16, including New Mexico GRT.
Second.
Roll call, please, ma'am.
Counselor Letterman,
Aye.
Counselor Eby,
Aye.
Counselor Salas,
Aye.
Counselor Hooker,
Aye.
Counselor Jackson,
Aye.
Counselor Corey.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 5, discussion and possible action on agreement with Desert West Enterprises, LLC, through the Cooperative Educational Services, CES, price agreement number 2023-08-R2110-all for micro-surfacing pavement process on Paradise Canyon Road in the amount of $113,218.03, including New Mexico GRT. Yes, sir.
Mayor, Council, this is actually to resurface Paradise Canyon. We're going to go in and fix some of the bad spots and do a resurface on this. Instead of a chip seal project, we're going to try this this type of resurfacing, and it is actually covered with the grant that Ron had got from the state.
Oh, good.
Yeah, Ron. And 113 is going to do all of Paradise.
Yes, sir.
That'd be the biggest bang for the buck we've gotten in years.
And Mr. Marion, and speaking of that, just for the world out there, when you go out for a bid, if you're going out for certain things, if there's already an established, whether it be through the state of New Mexico or through CES, then they've done all the things that it takes procurement-wise to be a vendor, and that's why sometimes we go with already having a bid and/or CES.
Yes, they have supplied their pricing to the state or to CES, and it has been approved for bidding.
And as a government entity, we have to, best practice, go with either the cheapest, or if it's sole, then we go with sole.
Mayor Crawford, Councilor Hooker, a lot of these, when we do an invitation for bid, we have to go with low bid unless it was some sort of bid along with a qualification type bid like we did on some of the projects. At that point, you rank and rate the project differently, which it may be a little higher. But on a normal bid, it's going to be lowest cost.
Yeah, I just wanted that to be on the record. Thank you.
In Mayor, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Mayor and council, this project will not take place. We'll do a notice of award. We'll do a notice to proceed. It'll be after Labor Day weekend.
Yeah.
No, I had a question. Is that Paradise Canyon, didn't it get repaved about 3 years ago?
No, last year.
Last year? Okay, I'm thinking, it wasn't very long ago.
It was year before last. Yes,
Year
sir.
before last, and repainted again last year.
Mayor Crawford, Councilor Eby, it did get repaved, but when they did repave it, we had the monsoon rains, and the moisture got underneath the asphalt, and that's where we're getting the cracking, so that's where we're gonna go through and fix all that.
Okay, could you explain a little bit more on the micro resurfacing? Because I heard you on the radio, and you were saying that this would be about an inch thick,
It'll be about an inch thick.
and then it penetrates into your existing asphalt, bonds with it,
Yes.
and that's a whole lot cheaper and quicker.
Yes, a lot of the roads we do is a chip seal, so basically we're spraying oil down, putting rocks on it, and then putting a fog seal over it, another coat of oil over it, and then sweeping the excess off to resurface the top of the road. This micro seal is a smaller aggregate, it's more like a sand and oil, so it seals any cracks or anything else that's in the roadway.
And it also have the Fox.
Allegedly, I think you need to start putting allegedly.
Yeah, I was like, hold on a second.
And Mayor and council, it also, they're going to do the fog sealing on the roadway also.
Yes.
And then we'll stripe it after. In-house, we'll stripe that, so.
What are they doing on Paradise today?
Yeah, I was gonna ask.
That is P&M.
They're
They're
putting poles.
New power poles.
Power poles.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Yeah, to where they're hanging more fiber for Cascade and whatever. They're doing a replacement of power poles.
Yes.
Do you need a,
Yes.
I move that we accept agreement with Desert West Enterprises LLC through the Cooperative Educational Services. Price agreement number 2023-08-R2110, all for microservicing pavement process on Paradise Canyon Road in the amount of $113,218.03, including New Mexico GRT.
Second.
Okay, discussion. Roll call, please, Jenny.
Counselor Letterman?
Aye.
Counselor Eby?
Aye.
Counselor Salas?
Aye.
Counselor Hooker?
Aye.
Counselor Jackson?
Aye.
Counselor Corey?
Aye.
Thank you very much, Adam.
Thanks, Adam.
Thank you, Adam.
Next is good old Jerry. Discussion of possible action on contract for ITB 2024-009B for green waste disposal to Universal Waste Systems, Inc. in the amount of $600,000, no cents, including New Mexico GRT. Yes, sir, Jerry.
This is just the approval of the new people that bought out Universal Waste, that bought out Sierra Contracted, where we dump our green waste.
And they munch up, I know they started charging different with that Hogzilla for the big logs and the stumps, and this has gone up, what was it, 100-something thousand from last year?
Well, actually it didn't. I mean, you know, I've done a BCR to put another 100,000 in there this year.
Mm-hmm.
The price was $1 is what it went up per ton.
It went up at just $1 per ton?
Mhm. Now, the exceptions was the big logs and stumps and stuff like that, which we try to stay away from anyhow. The contractors will, we just make them go back and cut them up. We don't want to, turn our trucks over picking them up anyhow.
No. As I thought I saw the contract last time was 470 or 480.
It was. And then I've done a BCR this year because we had to add to it.
Right.
We're way over.
Because of the thinning ordinances or cleaning ordinances or what? I know you're doing a
All of it.
budget, a change request, BCR, and it's $1 more a ton. And so that's a lot more tonnage for $160,000.
Yeah, we just figured out what we thought we'd hit on, so to speak, at the end of the year.
In Mayor and Council, just throughout the last fiscal year, whenever there was an increase of yard waste and slash that he transported over to the Sierra Contracting at the time. So that amount with the budget adjustments that he did through the year, it raised the amount, and now we're close to that amount with that 600,000, so.
And I think it's a great service. We get people that crow about it all the time, how wonderful.
And we also
it is.
have, just going by the dog park yesterday, we were walking, there's a lot of logs there that people are able to, and having some of the, some of the debris there.
And this
so.
is mulching and then dropping
Mulching,
some off.
yes.
But again, this figures into our rate analysis.
Yeah.
And we always give some to Parks and Recs and everything every year.
Yes,
So
and we appreciate it too.
And Mayor and Council, just a quick aside, I am working with Dick Cook on double checking. I think the three of us are on different pages on how much is actually being produced by the extra court recommendations that go for thinning. I think we've seen a dramatic increase, and I don't think Dick is seeing the numbers on the back end. But as Jerry just made the BCR to include that extra tonnage, I think we'll see that increase in tonnage that Dick hasn't seen because the numbers haven't caught up yet. So once we all get on the same page, I think we do want to make sure that we say, hey, as the rate analysis is done, this is the actual tonnage that's being produced.
Yes.
This is what was being produced. We actually see the court cases going up over these X amount of years, and this is what the reason is for the increased tonnage. We haven't gotten a complete grasp on why that has increased. We know, I think, anecdotally why, but I want to make sure the numbers reflect the actuals.
'Cause I've never seen the amount of wood at the dog park like I've seen in all the years. And then just on my street that y'all picked up 3 times.
Oh, yeah.
And then just on the roads I go back and forth through town, I mean, you're going back multiple times to pick up
next
stuff.
weekend it's filled up again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
We've gotten multiple calls where Jerry's out and he said, we just had guys out there and you're complaining. Carrie's fielded a couple of those from online, and it's like, hey, you guys never came out. And we said, we were there. It's
Yeah.
just, there's more.
So it just seems like there's a bunch more, and this system that these guys have set up is great. And so I just making sure that we're getting all of that, so when we're doing this rate analysis, if we're gonna jerk the Band-Aid, I'd rather just make sure we,
Snap it quick.
yeah, that we're in there.
Jerry, question, are the solid waste drivers how do you know there's a pile that needs to be picked up? Is it?
Well, they have a route, but the phone rings off of the hook.
Yeah,
Okay.
Oh,
Robin
it's
is
Susan again.
that's just me.
just constantly, so she keeps this huge log notebook and, writes
So-
down there.
So if we've got a
call.
pile that's getting a little high, we just call?
If it's getting into the street,
Okay.
they've learned if they call City Hall that, they can get their.
And I always try to tell them, it's on a
You're good
route.
about it, and I appreciate you.
It's a route, give them a little time, and then, because I know these guys, I've just seen them there. And then 2 days later, it's like, where did all this come from? And so I've even gone over and shoved it and told the guys that the contractors set it back off the street. Because they get it close to the street, and then next thing you know, it's in the street. But, and they've just been there, and I know they've got other areas of town. So I always try to tell them that it's on a route, they're working on it, and then I just give him a little deal. I know you guys were just here, but you might make a note because they're back and over there all the time. And the people are doing what we're asking them to do, but I just have not seen this much.
I think the fire really played into why
Yeah,
you're seeing so much of the thinning.
More interest. I got my saw.
Mayor, Councilmember Corey, just to your point, on average, the route takes, so we have, our regular routes, there's four routes, five? Four routes, and those 4 routes actually take roughly about a month to make. And so on average, as people were thinning, you would put it out once and you'd come back, and then seasonally, you'd hit the pine needles or any kind of debris or slash that was left over. So the month was reasonable, and as you were going through. Right now, on a month route, we're getting calls once a week to say, hey, you need to go back, and it's not exaggerated. It's pretty excessive that, hey, you need to be here for weekly. And I think, just as an aside, the other piece that we've seen is that as we get new owners, in the village, the demand for the service is much higher. So where a month or 6 weeks was reasonable for someone because they really weren't putting that much out, now with the short-term rentals that are there, having to thin them, making sure their properties are ready to go so that they can get their licenses, you really are getting calls weekly for street pickups, where we're not built for that at all. So.
And that's why I remind them, just so y'all know, sometimes if you really want it out, because sometimes it's in front of their house and they don't want it, if you can't wait, you can hire your contractor to take it. It's included now, but it takes time. But if you want it out there, you can pay your guy to haul it over there and pay for the disposal.
And just for a perspective, our residents are paying roughly $4 for their initial acre. If they're out of compliance, it's 12, and then the price actually goes down for every acre that you have to deliver that. And that's what our pickup fee is. On average, right now, I think Universal Waste is charging the average person to dump that like $250 a dump.
Yeah.
So we're already under what that cost would be, that should be charged.
The sad thing is they have, all of their limbs and everything. Oh, and then let's put a toilet and a mattress and a couch.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
it's just, it is getting so bad in the neighborhoods. I mean, toilets, they're,
And see, we'll have to just dump that load at the transfer station. So there's a full trailer, another load going down to the
I know.
landfill. We had a call today that a pile's been there almost a year. Well, it's on top of a fire hydrant.
Oh, wow.
And,
Can't do
the guy calls every so often.
And we've asked them to move it. It's just
so, it's just so inconsiderate. It seems like the more that we do, the more our services are taken advantage of. And I know I'm speaking to the choir, but our guys do so much, and a lot of people are very thankful.
Well,
But then you have those
Councilman.
that just, throw everything
appreciate
out on
that.
the street, and
Always.
Mayor, I move approval of the contract for ITB 2024-009B for green waste disposal to Universal Waste System, Inc. in the amount of $660,000, including NMGRT.
second.
Roll call, please. Go ahead.
Discussion. On the Appendix J, the additive alternate, the contractor shall provide the village a grapple truck and a driver for the purpose of providing green waste collection service, off-site disposal, and the village on an as-needed basis. The remaining vegetation should not exceed a height of 3 inches. I'm lost on
So
that.
Counselor Solis, we put in that contract for the help that
Right.
this company has given us. you know, so we're all legal in having them come and help us.
He's
Right.
asking, I think, about the remainder.
Right.
So when they pick it up with the grapple truck, we're just asking that they clean it up and not leave more than a 3-inch like residue.
Oh, they're raking.
From the pickup, when
Yeah,
they're
they get out,
raking
rake in
it
the
off
pile
the
and pick it
street.
up.
Oh, okay.
We rake up our piles.
Right,
We
but they
clean
don't
up.
leave that much there. Do we have a cost what they charge us if we, because I know
It's
we've used
significantly
them
lower than
before.
what-
It's $150
Okay, per
a
load.
load.
Okay, okay.
Mayor, I have a question. You know, since all this is based upon the QB guard picked up in the different size of material that they're picking up there, my only question was on the 660,000, should that be a up to, or is that a set amount? Since you don't know what they're going to be picking up during the year, exactly.
I'm sorry, Councilmember Eby, I missed that.
Is it 660,000 and up to amount, since we don't know how much they're picking up?
Or is it? Counselor Eby, we don't know until we go for a year.
Say not to exceed this amount, or what? Because it almost sounds like that's a hard amount. You're paying them, you're agreeing to give them that much this coming year.
Mayor, I revised the motion to reflect up to 660,000.
Thank you, sir.
And I second that.
Any more discussion? Okay, roll call, please, Jenny.
Counselor Corey?
Aye.
Counselor Letterman?
Aye.
Counselor Jackson?
Aye.
Counselor Hooker?
Aye.
Counselor Salas?
Aye.
Counselor Eby?
All right.
It is so beautiful outside, guys. I mean, it's absolutely stunning. All right, here we go. Item number 7. Thank you very much, Jerry.
Thanks, Jerry.
Discussion and possible action on joint powers agreement between the Village of Ruidoso and the Board of Education for the Ruidoso Municipal School District regarding placement of a school resource officer at Ruidoso Schools. Yes, sir, Chief?
This is just our annual contract with the school resource officer there with the school for school year 24-25.
Thanks, Jerry.
Thank you.
Mayor, Chief, is Sal staying?
Yes, he is. So he'll be here for at least one school, this will be his last school year, is what he's told me. So I am planning ahead, and there is an officer that is interested in that position, so doing some mentorship. I'll be doing mentorship with him this school year.
Yeah, that's nice.
Counselor Letterman and I attended a school board meeting, a month ago at the high school, and there was some discussion from was she the school nurse? About vaping and
Yes.
overdoses.
He does numerous, probably, a handful a month of the vapes, and he collects those. And, unfortunately, he doesn't have the support from the juvenile justice or the juvenile probation office to continue to hold these folks accountable with their, whenever they get caught with the vapes.
Chief, are you seeing an uptick in that?
Since they started coming out, probably the last 5 years, yes, we've seen a huge uptick in vapes, but since they've become more popular.
Well, Mrs. Bulmer, who is the assistant principal,
Yes, ma'am.
she feels like since cannabis was
Legalized.
that the school is seeing quite a bit more activity in cannabis vaping.
And there is.
Yeah.
And that the cannabis is sometimes laced with something even.
What we're seeing it most commonly laced with is fentanyl.
And that's also at middle school.
Yeah, yes.
And Mr. Mayor, Chief, and if that wasn't as bad as it sounds, then sometimes the carrier agent in the oil is also a threat.
Yes, it is. I mean, the chemicals that are inside of those vapes, you don't know what they are. I mean, back in the olden days, whenever you would roll it up and, have the actual leaves, it wasn't as bad as it is now, because now you don't know what chemicals are introduced into the cylinders or anything like that.
Or the concentration.
Yes, that's the other thing.
Or their tolerance. I mean, it all is an equation.
Yes.
Can I get a motion?
I make a motion to approve the joint powers agreement between the Village of Ruidoso and the Board of Education for the Ruidoso Municipal School District regarding placement of a school resource officer at Ruidoso schools.
Second?
Any discussion? Final? Roll call, please, Jenny.
Counselor Hooker,
Aye.
Counselor Letterman,
Aye.
Counselor Eby,
Aye.
Counselor Salas,
Aye.
Counselor Jackson,
Aye.
Counselor Corey.
Thank you very much. Item number 8, discussion and possible action on contract for police services for the 2024-2025 school year between the Village of Ruidoso and the Municipal School District. Yes, sir, Chief.
Mr. Mayor, Council, this is also just the annual contract to provide security at all the football games and then certain district basketball and other games throughout the year. As they have also requested us at the senior prom and homecoming. And this contract covers that. It's the kind of no different than the ones that we have with the racetrack.
Except for we pay.
They,
It's included in your, they're not paying.
No. This one's totally separate. We bill them and for the hours that we work, for the overtime hours that we work.
Good.
And Judy sends them a bill and then they pay the officers overtime rate.
It's, okay.
Mayor, I'll make a motion.
Yeah, get that.
What's that?
Make it.
Okay, I'd make a motion to approve contract for police services for the 2024-2025 school year between the Village of Ruidoso and the Ruidoso Municipal School District.
Second.
Roll call, please, ma'am.
Counselor Eby,
Aye.
Counselor Hooker,
Aye.
Counselor Letterman,
Aye.
Counselor Salas,
Aye.
Counselor Jackson,
Aye.
Counselor Corey.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, and so we have closed session. So who all do we need in closed session? And what about? Okay. Okay, all right. Thank you, appreciate it.
Make the motion.
Make a motion.
Move that we go into closed session for discussion of limited personnel matters citing 1015-1H2, NMSA 1978. Further discussion subject to the attorney-client privilege pertaining to threatened or pending litigation in which the Village of Ruidoso is or may become a participant, citing 1015-1H7, NMSA 1978. Further discussion of the purchase, acquisition, and/or disposal of real property and/or water rights by the Village of Ruidoso, citing 1015-1H8, NMSA 1978. Any action taken as a result of the closed session will be brought back into open session, and I so move.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call, please, ma'am.
Counselor Jackson,
Aye.
Counselor Hooker,
Aye.
Counselor Corey,
Aye.
Counselor Salas,
Aye.
Counselor Letterman,
Aye.
Counselor Eby.
All right, see you shortly.